Man, I need a longer version of that. Give me a hot second. Wait for these notifications to go out. Shouldn't take but a hot second, but I know this last time it took a while. Okay, there's one on YouTube. Oh, I didn't do Twitch. Should I do Twitch? Cool, cool. Let's see. All right. Give me just a second. All right. Happy Saturday. It's the end of June already. The 27th, man. It is June 27th, man. This year's flying by. June 27th. It's ridiculous. I still have fresh memories of like February of last year. It's crazy. Like February and March of last year feels like a couple months ago. Man, time started to fly. It's probably because I'm getting old. Like the older I get, the more time seems to fly. It's ridiculous. All right, but anyway, let me just check this text message real quick. Cool. What we are going to get into today is Dr. Orion Teraban and Dr. Anna Psychology. Man, they have a mild beef. Dr. Orion doesn't know about it yet, I'm sure. Somebody might have brought it to his attention, but we'll see. We are going to react to this Manosphere Highlights Daily video. Let's go. Okay. Let's do it. Well, perfect. All right. Let me close that. Let me share this video real quick. Okay, so why did that just go out? Or did I just not see it? Boom. All right. So first we're going to look at this video from Manosphere Highlights Daily. Let's go. Boom. I wonder why he edited it like this too. This is kind of weird.
A useful 8, because obviously we are all itching to know what Dr. Teraban's ideal woman is.
I'm Dr. Orion Teraban, and this is Psychhacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic for today's short talk is a useful 8.
I don't know if he genuinely believes the stuff he's spewing or if he's just capitalizing off a profitable niche. To be honest, I don't give a fuck. I'm honestly ashamed to have the same degree as him.
Yes, I love videos like this. Not
I don't know what it is, but this dude's voice cracks me up.
because someone is about to get destroyed, not because one psychologist is about to expose another, but because we are watching two psychologists with the same degree go to war over the manosphere.
So real quick, man, anybody that watches this, what is important to think about beyond the gender war stuff is these are two psychiatrists, psychologists that have the exact same degree. These are two practitioners, people who see patients, who see people and counsel them, therapize them, whatever word you want to see or use. These are two different people. They may employ the same modalities, but their thought processes, how they come to conclusions, are totally different. Their cultural competence is totally different. And depending on who you see as a therapist can influence how they perceive your problems, how they shape your world as you tell it to them, what biases and assumptions they'll come to. So that's what, for me, is the most important in this thing. You're going to hear the thoughts of two therapists, some personal opinion, and then you'll hear some other stuff too. We're going to look at this video from Manosphere Highlights Daily, who's going to look at it from a Manosphere Redpill perspective. But then we're also going to look at Dr. Anna's video. And she cites her authority as a therapist several times and her degree several times. And then we're going to look at an older video from Dr. Orion where he talks about the people that have a problem with his content. What up, Naya? Good to see you. Good to see you.
And what is interesting is not who wins the argument. What is interesting is what neither of them is saying.
A couple of weeks ago, I got a video request from one of my patrons, Lily. She brought to my attention an account by somebody called Orion Teraban asking me to break down his content. At first, he seemed to me just your run-of-the-mill manosphere content creator with video topics such as men are the prize and women want it all. But then I noticed something concerning. This man has a PsyD, which is the same degree that I have. So at that point, I realized, oh, this guy is using his perceived expertise as a psychologist to spread a very dangerous and anti-woman message. And who better to explain why his rhetoric is not based on any credible psychological theories than a woman who also has a doctorate in psychology. Let's do just that.
So we have Dr. Anna, a female psychologist with a doctorate, reacting to Dr. Orion Taraban, a male psychologist with a doctorate, who built a channel around relationship dynamics and the manosphere. Now, before we go any further, let us establish something important. This channel does not exist to defend or attack either of these creators. What we are here to do is what we always do. Look at the pattern underneath the content, and the pattern here is fascinating. Let's get into it.
Ain't that a man?
So Dr. Taraban calls his psychology psych hacks, which sounds great in theory, but the issue is that he hasn't truly provided any psych hacks or any evidence-based psychoeducation.
Something weird listening to this. I don't listen to content in regular speed. So when I do listen to regular speed to put something on the internet, it is so strange. It is so weird.
On his channel in about 3 years. 4 years ago, when Dr. Taraban first started his channel, his videos were on respectable, scientifically sound topics, such as how to let people be wrong and use emotions to make better decisions. And then about a year in, something curious happened. He published a video titled, "Guys, Find Your Ugly Duckling, or How to Find a Good Woman," which got about 10 times the amount of views that he was typically getting around that time. For the most part, he went back to his regularly scheduled videos, but more and more manosphere-sounding titles started to get peppered in there, until eventually pretty much all of his content started to sound very woman negative. Women treat men the way men
Woman negative. That is fun.
treat jobs. Women punish the men they like. Women want it all, which has 427,000 views, juxtaposed with the video right before it, which was about neglected kinds of love, which only got 8,400 views. The Redpill content got about 50 times more engagement than his regular content.
Stop right there. She just handed us the most important data point in the entire video, and she walked straight past it. Dr. Taraban's regular psychology content, respectable, evidence-based, scientifically sound, got around 8,400 views. His woman negative content got 427,000 views.
Man, that's a lot though, man. It's crazy. It's crazy how skewed the algorithm is towards, we can call it negative content, complaining, venting, all that stuff. Whether it's men or women, it can be political. The algorithm is so heavily skewed towards negativity. It's wild. But it's also, we're so skewed towards negativity. Like, that's how we are as people too. I mean, because we could not watch it. Don't recommend this to me. We could do a lot of that stuff, but it is funny. I noticed that like years back. What's his face? Hafiz of the Roommates. He quit. Like, he quit because of stuff like that. He talked about how much more money they got when it was something negative, as opposed to when they did the self-help content, the working out, the finances. Like, it was crazy. And the same thing with Fresh and Fit. They said the exact same thing. And it's hard to get people to walk away from money, but for me, that's selling your soul. When people talk about selling your soul metaphorically, I mean, maybe there's a supernatural selling your soul. But for me, if you say I'm here to do a benefit to people, but you see there's more money in talking about the people that the person blames for their problems, and you go that route, that's selling your soul. Like, you sold your morals, or you sold your integrity. The things you say you're stated here for, you're not doing that. So for me, that's selling your soul. And people like the Fresh and Fits and the Roommates and even Dr. Orion Taraban, in a way, they've sold your soul. Because they come in with one mission in mind. I'm going to help men. I'm going to help men. But then they stop helping men because they start helping themselves. So that's a problem I have with a lot of red pill and manosphere spots. When that money comes in, but I get it. The money is tempting. And in this economy, I mean, it's a tough call, man.
50 times the engagement. 50! Now, Dr. Anna presents this as evidence that Dr. Taraban sold out.
Oh, and I don't even know if this guy is going to address it. I went and looked because I used to subscribe to Dr. Anna. I still subscribe. I think I still subscribe to Dr. Orion. I'm not sure. I may not. I've unsubscribed to a lot of people. But Dr. Anna, she had a little too much feminism for me. I've developed a distaste for certain types of feminism. There's a feminism I was just listening to. There's an old black lady. Oh my God. I could listen to people like Bell Hooks, but there was another lady. I can't remember her name. I can still see her afro though. But that kind of the older feminism, the real I can listen to them people, but the newer feminism, I can't do it. It's very hypocritical. But what Dr. Anna doesn't say, what really bothers me about her critique of him talking about how a year into it, he seemed to switch the manosphere stuff. If you look at her channel, when she used to handle serious peer-reviewed psychology, that's when I was a fan of it. Now she's into more pop culture. It's not red pill manosphere, but you're switching into using the names and the faces of recognizable people to get you a pop in your engagement. So you're doing the exact same thing. You're following the money too. Yes, people want to talk about what's popular. It's popular. You know what I'm saying? So you're doing the exact same thing he's doing, just in a different lane. So that's another thing. I don't know if this guy brings that up, but her channel is now almost exclusively, like, even her reacting to him, it's her reacting to, hey, somebody sent me this thing on the internet because it's popular and they don't like it and they want to see what you say about it. You're benefiting off of somebody else, not your own psychological insights, not what you've been taught. You're looking at somebody else's stuff, putting them on your thumbnail, using their name to catch, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, that's what gets me about people who criticize somebody else. You're doing the exact same thing. Oh, he switched his content over from pure psychology over to this red pill slop. Guess what you're doing? You're talking about Love Island. You're talking about this Clavicula. I don't know how to say this dude's name. I don't even know what it is. But he's a looks maxer, whatever that is. But I guess it's something weird. I've never looked into him. But she's doing the exact same mess.
That he chased the algorithm at the expense of his integrity. And she may be right about that. But here is the question she never asks. Why? Why are millions of men clicking on that content? Why does a video called Women Want It All get 50 times the engagement of a video about neglected kinds of love?
That's a real interesting question. But let's look at her real quick. Hold up. Let's pull her out real quick. Quick sidebar. This is show what I'm talking about. Because this is her page. So she's got Dr. Orion in this one. She's got some lady named Jenny Mullen in this one. Toxic parent and estrangements. We know that's been popular lately. Ever since Oprah put in that thing about toxic parents and estrangement, she's talking about that trad wife. That's popular. Love at First Sight, popular TV dating show. The Crash. I'm assuming this might be a British TV show. I'm not sure. But some stuff she's got in there. But dating, Hayden Panettiere. Like, you're doing the exact same thing, but you're using pop culture. The things that everybody else is talking about. Russell Brand, he had just did a podcast about a month ago that everybody was talking about. So she's doing the exact same thing. She's just not doing red pill. But if you go back and look at her older stuff, let's look at her older stuff. Let's see if she's doing the exact same thing. Look at this. Social anxiety versus shyness. Science says do this. Narcissistic, histrionic, excessive cute disorder. So she was doing pure psychological content, but you see the same shift in her content. So it's weird how people criticize somebody for doing the exact same thing they do. So she already shows a lack of self-awareness. But people a lot of times do this kind of stuff without even thinking about it. It's a shift. You feel the energy, you follow the energy. You don't think about it. But the fact that she lacks self-awareness that much, that's crazy. But she accused him of that. That is funny. All right, but let's go back to the video.
What need is that content meeting that his regular psychology videos were not? Because if you are a psychologist...
So what do you think? If you're in the chat right now, or if you're watching this on replay, why do you think, guys, what is the why? Why would a guy rather hear the women don't know what they want? Women needs to be humble. Why would we cater more towards that kind of content as opposed to like the finance, the fitness? Like, why do y'all think that is, that we are so keyed in on that? If y'all haven't thought about that, if you've thought about it, if you have a feeling about it, just share your opinion.
And Dr. Anna is a psychologist. That is the most important question in the room. Not is the content scientifically sound, but why is it resonating with so many men so powerfully that it gets 50 times the engagement? She never goes there, not once in the entire video.
Dr. Taraban's more recent content seems to be largely based on what the Red Pill community calls sexual market value. According to this theory, relationships between men and women can be simplified into an economic system. Men and women hold value to potential or actual sexual partners based on different things. Men based on income, women based on youth and age. The sexual market value theory is not credible or scientifically sound.
Now, first of all, she even Kevin said she super simplified that to one trait. That was crazy too. That's bad.
Sexual partners based on different things. Men based on income, women based on youth and age.
Nobody would tell you it's down to one thing. People look at potential partners for a host of things. Even Kevin Samuels talked about that. Height, fitness, and people. The fact that she just beauty and money is crazy.
The sexual market value theory is not credible or scientifically sound in the field of psychology. It greatly exaggerates and oversimplifies tiny seeds of truth from theories that do exist, such as the social exchange theory, which says
social exchange theory is a sociological and psychological theory that explains how people behave in relationships by using cost-benefit analysis. Wouldn't that be sexual marketplace value? That's just a different word for the sexual marketplace value. Like, that's literally a different framing. She said tiny seeds of truth. It's just the truth. People look at what value somebody brings to a relationship. Why would you get into a relationship if there's no value to it? If you do not value something, why would you do it? I don't like this. I don't enjoy this. I don't want this. I don't need this. I'm still going to do it. It doesn't make sense. That's an addiction at that point. Same reason people watch superhero movies. It's like watching a good guy win because in real life the hero doesn't win. Same with women. They aren't really humble like that in real life. I mean, that's a good insight. Good insight. It's entertainment. It's sport. That's interesting.
the relationships are all a cost-benefit analysis and they require some level of reciprocity for them to be healthy, or the mating strategy.
That's what the sexual marketplace is.
Theory, which says that people use different mating strategies, whether they're pursuing a short-term or long-term partner.
That's the sexual marketplace value.
Evolutionary psychology does love to talk about how men on average prefer younger and more beautiful partners, and women do on average tend to prefer men who have higher income due to evolution.
That's what Redpill Manager's been saying. She's not actually disagreeing. She just didn't like the term. And I hate when people do that. I don't like the term, so I'm going to disagree and then say exactly what you said differently.
Evolutionary reasons. However, even when averages do exist, they're probabilistic, not deterministic, meaning it would be accurate to say women self-report preferring blank trait on average, but it's not scientifically supported to say women will always go for a Chad.
That's not what they're saying, because they also see dudes that are ugly or fat get dudes. Everybody knows it. So like, she doesn't even understand the material, which I hate when people do that. They'll react to something and give their opinion on it and have no understanding of what's actually being said, or no concept. Because nobody would call like Bill Gates a Chad. Like, there's a multitude of reasons people choose somebody. Bill Gates had potential and money. And he might even been clever or funny. Who knows how he got Melinda Gates? But nobody would call him a Chad. But he was married. Jeff Bezos is a weirdo. Yeah. And they might have found the women before they even had money. So I just hate when people mischaracterize Redpill and Manosphere, boy.
Now here is where it gets interesting for us specifically. Dr. Anna says sexual market value theory is not credible or scientifically sound in the field of psychology. And then
she validated it. She completely validated by saying everything that it is with the scientific name, which is crazy.
And in the same breath, she says it greatly exaggerates tiny seeds of truth from theories that do exist. Pause on that. Seeds of truth. She said seeds of truth. So the observations are not entirely fabricated. The framework is just overstated. That is a meaningful concession from someone who is supposed to be debunking the whole thing. She is not saying men and women have identical mate preferences. She is saying the red pill version overstates the differences. We've been saying exactly that for years. The data exists. The biological reality exists. Alison Armstrong spent 35 years documenting it. The World Happiness Report confirmed it. The issue is never the observation. The issue is what you do with it.
And in fact, even within evolutionary psychology,
And even real quick though, is I'm not even sure that red pill and manosphere overstated. They've just commercialized it because they have to make constant content and they repeat the same stuff. It feels like it's overstated. It's just voluminous. It's a lot of it. They're putting out clips and highlights and videos and going live daily to make money. So it feels like it's overstated, but they're saying the same thing. It's not overstated. It's just a truth that she has scientifically validated that exists. It's one of many truths that exist. People choose based on a whole host of things, and each person, like in the red pill manosphere, they focus on different areas. Like Dr. Tiasan Johnson focuses on the Black family. Fresh and Fit focus on them 20-year-old Miami chicks, party chicks. When they're talking about party chicks. They're not talking about a 40-year-old single mom. They're not talking about her. So it's like everybody focuses on something different. Kevin Samuels had a different audience, 30 to 40 mid-tier professional. Everybody has a different group and niche, and she's not even, first of all, she's not informed enough, but she's not even respecting a broad group of men enough to think that they might be talking about different things at different times of life. And that's also sad.
The issue is what you do with it.
and in fact, even within evolutionary psychology, large meta-analyses have raised questions into the assumption that men and women really do prefer these things. When those differences exist, effect size tend to be quite small, which suggests there are other, a lot more important variables at play in what draws people to each other. Gender equality in society tends to greatly reduce those differences. What people say they want in self-report questionnaires is often not what they actually go for in reality. And so the truth seems...
Yeah, I agree with that completely. And that's also what Red Pill teaches. People will tell you they want one thing, but watch the behavior. Red Pill and Manosphere talks about that all the time. Forget what they say, watch what they do. So she is not funny. The funniest thing I've learned about women when they complain about Red Pill Manosphere, they really don't agree. They really don't disagree. They just don't like the words that get used. It's the funniest thing. They won't disagree in practice. But again, don't listen to what they say. Watch what they do.
To be that women tend to report prioritizing financial resources in a partner slightly higher than men do, and men tend to report wanting attractiveness and youth in a partner slightly more than women do. Evolutionary forces, of course, play a role in mate selection, but red pillars way exaggerate that role. And in my opinion,
How could you exaggerate that? Like, I'm not even trying to be funny. Like, scientifically, how could you exaggerate that? Somebody says people have evolved to prefer certain things. How could you say that? How could you make that more of an impact? You evolve. We can't even quantify what impact that had. We don't even know really. We can't even really conceive of what evolve means. We can't even see the steps. So how could you even possibly embellish that? They say it a lot, and I think to her and to other people like that, saying it a lot is embellishing it, which is two different things. I can say I like peanuts 50 times. I'm not embellishing how much I like peanuts. And that's this is, again, just poor thinking, poor thought process.
evolutionary psychology is one of the weakest subfields of psychology.
This is the most honest moment in the video, and it flies by in about 20 seconds. She says what people report wanting in questionnaires is often not what they actually go for in reality. Women report prioritizing financial resources slightly higher than men. Men report wanting attractiveness and youth slightly more than women. Slightly. She says slightly. Gentlemen, that word is doing a lot of work right there, because the lived experience of the men watching Dr. Taraban's content is not slightly.
But even her, like, to her point, if anybody's exaggerating, it might even be her by saying slightly. All of us have heard men say that they prefer younger women, or you've heard women say that men prefer younger women, to the point that they're perverts. That is so pervasive. So is that a slight interest that men have in younger women, or is it pronounced? So it's so easy to call somebody out for exaggerating something, and then some of it may be unintentional, but again, she's putting nefarious intent, which I hate when people do that.
It is not a small effect size on a questionnaire. It is the reason they are sitting in front of a screen at midnight watching a psychologist explain why the game feels rigged. Dr. Anna is giving them the academic version of the answer. Dr. Taraban is giving them the emotional version, and the emotional version is getting 50 times the views because it is meeting men where they actually are, not where the research says they should be.
But let's look at some of Dr. Taraban's claims more closely, starting with this video that he titles His Ideal Woman, a Useful 8. Because obviously
Now, real quick, now what she says, his ideal woman. So this is a man on the internet sharing his personal opinion, which your opinion can't be wrong, but my experience with women, she's going to make it wrong.
his ideal woman a useful 8, because obviously we are all itching to know what Dr. Taraban's ideal woman is.
Now, real quick, because I thought this was funny. We're all itching to know what he finds a useful 8. We're all, what is ideal woman? We're all itching to find out. 131,000 views. A useful 8. 131,000 views. 131,000 people are itching to find out what he finds is an ideal mate. Her most recent 6 videos, the closest gets to 103. Let's go to 9. Let's go. Whatever the crash is. And I might look in whatever the crash is because, you know, permissive parenting. Okay, that was a hot topic. Yeah. 144,000 views. So, yeah, a lot more people are looking to find out what his ideal partner is than her average video. So while she was laughing at it and giggling at it, she's not that important.
Through psychology. And the topic for today's short talk is a useful 8. So from time to time, I receive a specific question from both men and women. Orion, you talk so much about sexual relationships, so tell us, what is your ideal woman? Here it is. For me, an ideal woman is a useful 8.
So let's break down the 2 components of the sentence. Useful, which relies on this very self-centered, transactional outlook of relationships.
Oh my God, I swear to God. Do you want somebody that's useless? Who wants somebody that's useless? I've never heard anybody. I want a useless person. I'm looking for a useless woman. I need a useless man. I've never heard that in my life. So to even criticize that is silly. Like she's committed to the bit. She's so committed to this that she's going to make a stupid argument. And I really hate when people get that committed to dumb. Oh my God. Nobody has ever wanted somebody useless. Sought for somebody useless. Everybody's looking for a use. Just all the uses are not tangible. People have a real distaste for tangible uses, like I want sex, or I want money, gold digger, or he just wants somebody objectification. But also, I want to sit, and I want a companion. That's also a use. Like having somebody, a confidant, that's a use. Somebody you can talk to and trust, that's a use. Nobody wants somebody useless.
And 8, which relies on a very objectifying view of relationships, which again boils down a person's value into one numerical score.
Oh my goodness. Notice what happens here. The word 8 immediately becomes.
Yeah, she's young. She might be somewhere around 30. She might be somewhere around 30. Yeah. She does look young. I think she looks younger than she is, but I mean, I think she's in her 30s. I do think she's in her 30s. I could be wrong though. But I used to watch her content from years back. So I feel like she's definitely closer to 30, if nothing else. But she is young.
Objectification. But does it? People rate everything. Restaurants, movies, hotels, even themselves. A man might say, I am a 6. I need to get in shape. Nobody calls that self-objectification. A woman might say he is a 7, but his personality makes him a 10. Nobody calls that objectification either. So before we conclude Dr. Orion is objectifying women, we first have to ask, what does the 8 actually represent?
Now see, here's my thing. I don't care. We are both subjects and objects. There is an object of the person that you're looking at, and there's a person that's a subject inside of that object. We have to quit running from objectification. Like when you ask somebody to hand you something, you've asked the subject to become an object. Put your body into utility for me. We have to quit having an allergic emotional reaction to objectification. When women say they want somebody that's a 6 foot, but they don't want them any shorter than 5'7", That's objectification. That's an object. You're talking about the object of the person. It's normal. We have to quit demonizing when somebody does objectification because it's super normal. It's natural. It's supernatural. Even animals do it. Like when the whole bird video where the two birds were dancing, who has the best dance? That's an object. Like that's the thing. Your people are attracted to the thing. Animals are attracted to the thing. Which beetle shivered the most? That's objectification. So objectification is natural. We've tainted it when men do it, and I say men's tainted when women do it, like when they're looking for resources and money. But it's natural. It's normal. Now the rating of 8, that ranking system. I mean, it's crude, but it's effective.
Appearance, character, relationship value, overall compatibility. Because if it is,
But I also understand why it's offensive. It's effective, but it's also I understand why people will be offensive. Oh, that must be for Snacks. Snacks over there carrying somebody. Snacks over there carrying. She got a teammate. Let's go.
simply shorthand for overall mate value, then we are not talking about objectification. We are talking about classification. And those are not the same thing. Dr. Anna jumps straight to the conclusion without interrogating the premise. And a psychologist should know that the conclusion is only as strong as the premise it stands on.
Starting with the first part, useful. What, you might ask, does Dr. Taraban thinks makes a woman useful? Well, serving a man.
Well, it means that she must actively generate value. And 8, to be helpful.
Generate value and be helpful. Those were his word. What did she say? Serving a man. It's always interesting how people reframe what they heard.
A good woman, a smart woman, once she secures access to a man, starts to look around, starts to carefully observe a man's life and what he is trying to accomplish in order to identify opportunities where she can be of service. But Orion,
So
some women will
service.
say,
I think she probably previewed it. I wonder how the serve word got in her mind.
why would I want to serve a man?
I think I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. That's a pretty disgusting way to view dynamics between men and women. It reveals a very hierarchical view of the genders, where women are relinquished to the role of servant. They're basically beneath men. Now, as you'll see later on in the video,
Now that's a big leap. He never said they were beneath men, but she said if you see somebody, because women say this all the time, if you see me struggling with something, help out. If you know that I'm struggling, why would you let me struggle? If you see it if you see me struggling to carry your groceries, jump in there. That's all he said in a more relational way. That's why I said if you see there's a place that you can help or do something, jump in and do it. If you're a couple, that makes sense, which is what he's talking about. He's talking about relationship dynamics. He didn't set a hierarchy, but he's talking about what he finds useful or what he desires. Why would I don't know? It is. I'm wondering why. I know. I already know. You already know. You are full Fortnite. Do your thing. Do your thing. Appreciate you popping in though. It's all good. But it's so weird that she would take it that way, considering if he's talking about being in a couple, he would probably be doing the same thing. If there's something he can help out with, because that's normal for most people anyway. If you're looking for a relationship and you see them struggling with something, you want to help out. You don't want to see somebody struggle. So it's just crazy. But she's automatically made it hierarchical. And if Yella's listening, we already know what that means. Patriarchal. We already know where she's going. It automatic it's nonstop. I'm so sick of that word. I'm so sick of that word.
relinquished to the role of servant. They're basically beneath men. Now, as you'll see later on in the video, Dr. Taraban likes to redefine words. So let's look at the actual definition of servant so that he
And she says he likes to redefine words.
can't sort of backtrack and pull a Martin Bailey fallacy. A servant is an individual who
Now listen, he didn't say he wants to serve it. He never said he wants to serve it. Oh my God. So she said he likes to redefine words. She redefined his entire message. He wants somebody that wants to be useful. Oh my God. So she's found the definition. Somebody who performs duties about the person, a home or a master. So she went to hierarchical. She took it completely hierarchical. But he said he wants somebody that wants to be useful. If you see me struggling with something, go in. They were in charge. They would have no concept of this, none. They would see themselves completely benevolent. That's crazy. Or still not even in charge, which is crazy too. Nobody even listens to me anyway. I may as well not even be in charge. You know, it's crazy.
Performs duties about the person or home of a master or personal employer. So here we get an idea
So now she's put him in the role of master or personal employer. That's crazy.
that is going to continue to come up in his content. That men are kind of like women's employers, and that romantic relationships should involve a woman doing things for a man that make his life easier. Now, what effect do you think this will have on relationships?
Now here we have to
None, because that's what you should be looking for. You should be looking for a person that is useful and that makes your life easier. I can do bad all by myself. I reject struggle love. People should not be looking for somebody who's going to make their life harder. They should not be looking for a person that is useless. So what is she advocating for or against when she says this stuff? It doesn't make any sense. It's illogical.
make another distinction, and this one is important. Dr. Orion says to be of service. He says useful. He says generate value. And then Dr. Anna looks up the definition of servant and builds her entire counter argument around that word. But he never said servant. He said serve, and those are not the same word. To serve has multiple definitions. The Cambridge Dictionary defines it as genus, read.
To help achieve something or to be useful as something. Or, if something serves you, it is good or helpful for you.
The Merriam-Webster defines it as
To be of use. To be favorable, opportune,
all he
or
said.
convenient. To
Useful, helpful.
be worthy of reliance or trust.
why does being useful to someone have a negative connotation?
It's weird.
Your doctor
But that's what happens when you are a man. Whatever word you use, it has a negative connotation to it. It's crazy.
serves you. Your lawyer serves you. Your accountant serves you. A good spouse, male or female, serves the other person in the relationship by being useful, reliable, and trustworthy. A woman who asks, what does this man need and how can I support what he's trying to build is not beneath him. She is his complement. That is not hierarchy. That is unity. Dr. Anna took the word serve, replaced it with servant, looked up the definition of servant, and then built a case against a word Dr. Orion never used. That is not debunking, that is a straw man, and a psychologist should know the difference.
And regardless
She should, but she is in her full-on feminist bag right there. Moons out, brooms out, hocus pocus. Oh, she's a witch. Okay, let's burn her. Burn her. Burn her.
of gender, the relationship will deteriorate between two people hearing this because one or both partners will start to see it as transactional. And recent research has shown us how it's incredibly corrosive to treat relationships like transactions and to keep score. This recent long
Now, yes, if all you do is treat the relationship as a transaction and keep score, yes, that's most people don't thrive in that. That's absolutely true. That's not what he's advocating for. That's not what he's saying. But the transaction is part of a relationship, which is why women developed a whole system called fair play, because they felt that transactions were too weighted towards women doing too much of the household labor, because they felt there was an inequity in the transaction. So even women perceived the transaction of the relationship and counted. So what are we talking about?
term study from Germany found that when partners expect something in return for favors or sacrifices, their relationship satisfaction declines. It seems to be a pretty
And see, I got a problem though. If you're a psychologist and your logic is like this, you're even useless in your career. Like if I come to you and I'm coming to you for counseling, and I say a word, and you turn me from saying I want somebody who's useful in some capacity to a master, a slave master. That's what you turn. You're not useful there, even as a profession. You're incompetent. And there's something here. The ideology becomes an incompetence. It's a handicap. It's the weirdest thing.
immediate predictor of a drop in the relationship satisfaction. Partners keep score, and immediately afterwards, their relationship quality plummets. There's no evidence in the study that people who are unhappier tend to then view relationships as more transactionally. The opposite seems to be true. And even if both partners are equally transactional in their view, that doesn't seem to help their relationship satisfaction. So a psychologist who encourages people to objectify each other and views relationships as transactional either doesn't have a good grasp of what science actually tells us is good for relationships, or doesn't really care and is just giving bad advice for profit. In reality, happy.
And then what she just said is impossible too. So if one person views the relationship more transactional than the other, is bad. And then if they both view it transactional equally, it's bad. Well, that means all relationships are bad then, because there's either somebody's more transactional than the other, or they're equally as transactional, which means maybe even zero. Neither of us view it transactionally, but it's equal as zero. So that means she just disqualified all relationships as being bad. It's pure thoughtlessness.
Relationships are based on teamwork, positive regard, friendship. Reducing human beings to an economic framework is a recipe for relational unhappiness.
She is not wrong here. We agree with this. Happy relationships are built on teamwork, on positive regard, on friendship, on two people who actually like each other, choosing each other every day. But here is what Dr. Anna skips entirely. How do you get there? How do men and women who are operating from completely different biological...
And that's another thing. I wish we could get rid of the negative connotation around transaction. Transaction, a change of action. Actions that are being exchanged. That's not a bad thing. Like when he said it's not, we agree on that. No, actually, we don't. I don't. Because even friendships have transaction. I can tell you things, you can tell me things. That's a change of action. I can trust you, you can trust me. Maybe I can borrow from you, you can borrow from me. I pay for you, you pay for me. That's an exchange of action. That's a transaction. We got to quit running from these words. I hate when people are so triggered by words. Even though I just said I can't stand the word patriarchy. You know, the word patriarchy triggers me a bit. I'm a hypocrite. Give me my word.
frameworks, different hormonal configurations, different definitions of commitment, different relationships with respect and admiration. How do they build that teamwork? That is the work, and neither Dr.
Teamwork. Teamwork is a reframing of the word transaction. Team, that's the mode of exchange because you're part of a team. And then the work is the action. Transaction, teamwork. It's the same. One has a positive connotation, one has a negative connotation, but it's the same principles.
Anna's debunking video nor Dr. Taraban's framework actually addresses it. One tells men they are wrong for feeling what they feel. The other validates the feeling, but offers no path forward.
Okay, let's look at this video. Men are
Validates the feeling, but...
Now, he obviously doesn't listen to Dr. Orion either, because he actually does offer several paths forward. Dr. Orion talks about solutions every single time. He breaks his videos into two halves. The first half, he really details the problem, and typically in the second half, he offers a workable, practical solution to the problem. Now, some things are social ills, and you can't solve that problem, but how you should orient your mind or your behavior to operate within the framework that exists. So, I don't like that frame.
Offers no path forward.
Okay, let's look at this video. Men are the prize. Red pillars claim that men are the prize. Sprinkle content creators claim that women are the prize. In reality, I'm sorry to break it to you guys, no one is the prize in a relationship.
Now nobody's the prize because she doesn't like the use of the word. Anybody can be a prize. If a Cracker Jack can be a prize, if you can have a surprise, anybody can be a prize. It's just something that is of value. That's all it is. Something that's of value. Anybody can be valued. That's one of the things he said. I want a woman to be useful, to generate value. I want her to become a prize. It's crazy, man, that we are so ideologically allergic to words, man.
A relationship consists of two human beings who should both feel valued and value the other person.
Yeah, so they're both the prize. So now she's contradicted herself based on what a prize actually is. It's a thing that you could have and possess that is of value. That's all it is, man.
If only one person feels like the prize and they do not prize their partner, that's an uneven dynamic.
Well, now you just said nobody's a prize, and now you're saying one has to prize the other. So which is it? Like that wasn't even three sentences before she contradicted herself.
In reality, I'm sorry to break it to you guys, no one is the prize
Okay, nobody is the prize.
in a relationship. A relationship consists of two human beings who should both feel valued and value the other person.
Okay, that's one complete sentence after saying nobody is the prize.
Only one person feels like the prize and they do not prize their partner. That's an uneven dynamic that's not likely to last long or to be very happy.
So 2 sentences later, she's saying that both people have to prize each other, but nobody's a prize. I swear to God, they do not think. They don't hear themselves talk.
So there seems to be a perennial debate online
That's
about
crazy.
who is the prize in modern relationships. Is the woman the prize?
I think if you can't get 2 to 3 sentences without contradicting yourself, you shouldn't be allowed to talk on the internet. Like once you prove that to something like Wikipedia, like you could correct entries and send in like proof. You should be able to do that on the internet. If you show somebody's contradicting themselves within like 2 to 3 sentences, and they do that a couple of times, you can have them removed from the internet.
Or is the man the prize? And I'm here to weigh in on the matter because I think I can resolve this once and for all. Listen to me. If a top shelf woman is a diamond, a top shelf man is a diamond mine.
I will admit this one was a little sketch.
Why? Because men are disproportionately the producers of value. On a global level, men, through their labor and effort and ingenuity, produce far more than their fair share of global GDP. And when you rise up the scale and examine the demographic characteristics of millionaires and billionaires, this observation becomes even more true. Like all the 20 richest men in the world built something. On the other hand, all the 20 richest women in the world received their wealth through divorce or inheritance.
I will say why his analogy is stupid. It sounds on the surface. It sounds on the surface like he's making some kind of sense. Especially, I mean, if you agree with the ideology, the work and stuff. But the diamond for a woman is typically her beauty. You didn't do anything for that. Like most people, like you were born with some utility as far as beauty. And the diamond doesn't have any inherent value other than the beauty that we see it has. So then he says that a man has a diamond mine. So a man has access to a lot of useless things that we just find beautiful. That's not, no. You can't go to the men's value as utility, but hers is beauty. Like it's not analogous. That's the apples and oranges thing. He did apples and oranges, but I know what he's trying to do. Her value versus his value. His value is a whole host of utilities. Men can do this. Men built this roads. Blah blah blah. But that was just a stretchy analogy. My distance for the prize idea is it just reinforces the winning at relationship theory. Okay, what's the winning at relationships theory? The person with the prize is the person winning.
So if we're comparing apples to apples, that is a top shelf woman to a top shelf man.
Okay, so he's saying the analogy holds because he's holding a top shelf woman to a top shelf man. But when he says top shelf, he's talking about the most beautiful woman to the most productive man. That's his top shelf based on porn. Because that analogy wouldn't make sense in any other context. If a man is productive and a woman is productive, the man isn't going to be any more productive. Like as far as cognitive capacity, if a man's concept over a woman's concept, it's not going to hold up any other way.
And the conclusion is obvious. No one, man or woman, no one is going to prefer a single diamond, no matter how lovely, to a diamond mine.
Dr. Taraban claims that top shelf.
And even still, oh my God, it's such a bad analogy. He's talking about like the top 1% of people in all of the world anyway. It's just so crazy. It shouldn't be used. But anyway, I don't like that analogy, but I understand what he was going for.
Men make value while top shelf women receive it. So he really kind of tells on himself for how he completely neglects everything that women contribute to society. There's this notion in the.
And then she stretches it because he wasn't actually talking about a woman's competence. He's talking about her beauty. Like that, he's talking about it. But that's also the thing that Redpill and Manosphere talk about, how they always want to throw their achievements up there, but they're not useful to men. So she's doing the thing. She's doing the thing.
Manosphere that men are the only ones contributing. Men are the only ones inventing and furthering society. When in reality, women make up the majority of healthcare workers, the majority of.
Oh, and see, She just botched again. Even if you take her interpretation of what Ryan was saying, even if you take that, being health co-workers is not generating the value. The healthcare system is generating the value. You're just an employee. You're a do-boy. You're a bot. You're a servant inside of the system that generates the value. So she's about to mess herself up. She's about to list a lot of systems that generate value that women are the employees in, and she's going to consider that generating value. The women could be replaced by men. The women could possibly even be replaced by robots. So that's not a gender thing. The system is where the value is generated, and that's what the diamond mine concept is. I can create a system that I can plug something into, and it generates value. That's what Ryan was talking about on the men's side. She's actually about to play right into it.
Education workers, the majority of childcare workers, both
childcare,
within and
all systems that men have constructed, that men have set up.
and outside the home. And I can already hear the misogynistic clapback. But those are female fields, which means they are intrinsically devoid of any value.
They're not even necessarily female fields. They're female fields. They're female dominated now, but men set those up, and mostly men run those. Men set up schools. Men set up men set up almost all that stuff originally. Men built the buildings, and all that stuff was housed. Oh gosh, I hate this.
Because the masculine fields are the ones that are actually important. Okay, women also have important contributions to more traditionally masculine fields as well.
This part fascinated me. The debate shifts into who the real prize is. Men, women, diamond.
And why she's even making this argument anyway doesn't make sense, because nobody's prize according to her. So it's so good.
Diamond mines. And both Dr. Orion and Dr. Anna get completely absorbed into arguing about who holds more value. But from a sociological perspective, that is the wrong question entirely. Because the question underneath the question is not who is worth more. The question is, why is this debate so loaded in the first place?
Yeah, and that's a good question. Why? Who cares? Why do you need to feel validated as being the prize? That's a weird thing. Can't you just be important to the person that says they love you? Like, couldn't that be enough? Like, that should seem like that should be enough. That seems like it should be sufficient. Somebody says, I love you and I want to be with you. I don't know. That one always boggled me. I never understood why people fought so much for being a prize. That one didn't make much sense to me. That's a weird thing to worry about. I'm thinking about most of the time with prizes and stuff, they end up like on a shelf if they're new, in a garage or a basement or an attic if they're old. Like what is the prize to being a prize? I don't know that there is one. The way we practically treat prizes, unless it's money where we spend it, a car where we can drive it, most prizes like a trophy or something, they just sit around, get lost, get broken.
Why do millions of men respond so strongly when this topic comes up? Why does a video about who the prize is get 50 times more engagement than a video about healthy relationships?
Something's wrong with us. That's at that point, I'm gonna say something's wrong with us as people. Something's wrong with us as viewers if we care that much about who's the prize. That's a weird thing to argue about.
One word: acknowledgement.
Acknowledge me.
Shout out to Yella with the wrestler.
Yes. Men want to be appreciated for what they bring to the table.
Why do you want to be appreciated by strangers? See, that's where it gets weird. That's the weird part. The person that you want to be with that says they want to be with you, if they're acknowledging because they're saying they want to be with you, that's the acknowledgement you should see. The people that you're actually doing something for, the people that you're actually a diamond mine for, they should be acknowledging you. Just random people on the internet, just a woman 8275643 on YouTube, Reddit, Facebook, IG. Yes, men are the prize. That's unnecessary. It does nothing for you. So you want empty validation. Men and women. Like that's an odd thing to. That's to me that's disgusting. But that's my personal opinion.
Celebrated, not worshipped, appreciated, seen, acknowledged, And in this current climate, that is consistently not happening. The same culture that tells men to man up, to provide, to protect, to lead, turns around and tells them their contributions are irrelevant, their biology is toxic, and their perspective is misogyny. And that
Now that part is true on both sides. Now I will say the word prize and fighting for that is stupid. But there does need to be acknowledgement of what the other person brings to relationships. I think in general, not being the prize, that acknowledgement is stupid. But the value and contributions of men and women does need to be more publicly acknowledged. Even from strangers. Like that's social programming. That's social programming. You as an individual being the prize, you don't need that. That's stupid. That's not social programming. That's you programming. You, that's ego. But the general groups hearing that they have value and worth, that's social programming. That's useful.
is exactly where Dr. Anna loses the thread. She uses the word misogynist to describe Dr. Taraban's worldview, and maybe some of his conclusions earn that label. That is a separate conversation. But the moment you deploy that word...
No, that's this conversation. She brought it in. No. But they're going to use that word for everything. Any criticism becomes misogynistic, which is so annoying. It's so lazy. Everything misogynistic, everything narcissistic. They've ruined racism, they've ruined narcissism, they've ruined misogynistic. They've ruined everything.
You have ended the inquiry. You have stopped asking why and started assigning blame. And a psychologist should know that assigning blame is not the same as understanding the dynamic. Remember this?
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes the things that you express, we'll say that's ridiculous. You couldn't have prevented that from happening. You weren't even in the same part of the country. You couldn't have saved her from that. Basically, we're saying you're not Superman. I'm not. I hold myself to account for being Superman. I should have been there.
That's the other thing about your commitment is you can't commit to something you don't think you can win at. Your instincts will shut that down. You're not allowed to care about something you can't win at. And caring about something you can't win at, that's torture.
Allison,
now I'm going to say it is torture to care about something you can't win at, but you absolutely can commit to something you can't win at. People do it every day. People get die every day, B. People commit to things that they absolutely feel that they will never win at, whether that's relationships, whether it's relationship with their own children or their own parents, their jobs. Like people commit to things that they have absolutely no viable way to win at that they see. And most of us are doing it to society, like our system of economics and the political strategies. Committed to it. The people that are committed to the Democratic Party or the conservative MAGA Party, fully committed, can't win. Not when you can feel like you're winning at some point, but you're actually not getting ahead.
Armstrong said it plainly after 35 years of research. Men hold themselves to Superman standards. They work 16-hour days and come home to an environment where they feel like they cannot win. They give everything they have, and here, I do not feel like a priority. That is not misogyny producing the response.
I wish we could stop doing that. Now that's what do you call that? That's hyperbole. That's exaggeration. I don't think most men are working 16-hour days. I just don't. I don't think we need to generalize in that way. That most men need to hold themselves to Herculean Superman standards. I don't think that's true. The outcomes don't. The outcomes, the efforts don't even support that. Most people barely clear the bar that they set for themselves, men or women. I just don't think people really set high standards for themselves and clear them routinely. So I don't like hearing that.
That is exhaustion. That is a
I do think people are tired because no matter how much they work, they're not finding meaning in their life. But it's a different type of exhaustion. It's a soul weariness. It's not like being just physically worn out. There are a lot of people that do physical manual labor that are on their feet all day. They're physically tired, but just in general, nah. The exhaustion doesn't come from just the physical fatigue. There's something deeper going on in society.
Man who has been running on empty for so long that when someone on the internet finally names what he is feeling, even imperfectly, even with a framework that overstates the science, he clicks and he shares it and he comes back for more. Healthy relationships are not built by convincing one.
Y'all low-key made me not like this lady. I mean, she made you not like her. She did that to herself. She did that to herself. I mean, she didn't have to respond, and she could have used her. Now, we watched a lot of other clinicians. When they watch other stuff on TV, they'd be like, Stefania, Dr. Stefania, there's that Dr. Pam Fullerton. When they get on, like, I'm a licensed therapist, and I know we're watching Love Island, which is a produced television show. I am not clinically diagnosing any of these people. We don't know them, and we understand that what we're seeing can be heavily edited, giving us a misrepresentation of what was said and done. But having said that, we're still going to take a look at what dynamics we do see and what we can take away from it. You know, that's how I feel like clinicians should move. She did none of that. No disclaimers, no qualifiers. She started calling him names, labeling him, all kinds of stuff. So to me, that's why she's unethical. That's unprofessional. It's unbecoming of a psychologist. She's assumed his intent. She's misrepresented things he said. She took the words that he said and then went and defined another word, saying that she was trying to make sure he couldn't do it. What was it? Bots Maley is there's some kind of fallacy. It's like mots and Bailey fallacy. I don't know. She was trying to co-opt him, stop him from doing a fallacy, but then she straw man fallacy him. Like she put servant instead of useful, which was crazy. Was it Bot and Bailey? Hold up. Mott and Bailey. Okay, so it's a Mott and Bailey fallacy. Let's see what that is. Informal argument where a speaker conflates a highly controversial, hard-to-defend position with a modest, agreeable position when challenged on a controversial claim. Oh, okay. I've seen people do that. There'll be something harder to defend, but then they'll slip. And they're like, well, you're not for freedom? Well, of course I'm for freedom. Well, then you're for, but the more controversial, harder, more nuanced thing, they'll slide down to something else. I've seen that. I've seen that quite a bit. That's interesting.
Person, they are worth more than the other. They are built when both people believe the unity creates something neither could create alone. That's this channel's thesis. We feed you life and you give us our sparkle, but you cannot get to that conversation while you are still arguing about who the diamond is.
Von Eric is in the building, man. Happy Saturday to you. Hope all is well. Just doing a little psychology review. These two psychologists had a difference of opinion, so just taking a look at it, man. It's interesting, man. It's for Highlights Daily, highlighted it. Then I'm going to look at her video standalone. But shout out to you. Hopefully you are having a wonderful day, wonderful weekend, and a wonderful wrap up to the month of June for you, sir. Hope all is well. Still arguing about the diamond? No, they moved on from the diamond. They moved on from the diamond.
Session with who the prize is did not come from the manosphere. The manosphere did not invent that question. That question is the direct result of decades of men being told their contributions do not count. Their biology is a problem and their perspective is dangerous. When you spend long enough telling someone they are worth nothing, do not be surprised when they start loudly insisting they are worth something. That is not red pill content creating a problem. That is red pill content arriving after the problem was already there. Dr. Anna has the degree to understand that. The question is whether she wants to.
Listen, whenever red pillars' arguments are criticized, they resort to very predictable counter arguments. I'm just telling you.
I hate when they do that. Okay. This is actually a part of persuasive speech that you're supposed to do. Like if you have a persuasive argument, a persuasive essay, you're supposed to counter the possible counters to your argument. That's actually what you're supposed to do. But I hate when people do it because I feel like it's also manipulative. Like, let's say I stole something from you. And then I walk up to the cops like, this lady's losing her mind. She's going to accuse me of stealing. So then when you actually come up to me accusing me of stealing, which I actually did do, the cops are going to probably be prejudiced towards me because I just already implanted in their mind that you're crazy and that you're going to accuse me of stealing. And then you actually follow through with the thing I said you were going to do, even though you should do that thing. So it's like, it's crazy. I hate when people load it, but it's actually part of persuasion. So it's, oh God, it's crazy. I was talking about the older lady we watched her yesterday, Allison Armstrong, I think her name is. Pray all is well with you and the fam. Yeah. Good to see you. Yeah, just popping in for a quick, man. I saw this, man. I wanted to watch the video. She does a video standalone and he's reacting to it, but I want to watch the entire video. And I wasn't going to do it probably unless I was on stream. So yeah. Watch her Thursday, yeah. Allison Armstrong, the older lady. Yeah, she's cool. I like Allison Armstrong. I do have a problem with people that are too one-sided towards the gender. Like if you're a woman that's too one-sided against women or men, it makes me look at you funny. And the same thing with dudes. If you're too pandery or misogynistic, if you're too red, it always gets me. I feel like I need people that are balanced. If you can see the good and bad in both sides, I'm with you. I don't even have to agree with you, but if you can see that if you can see both sides, I'm with you.
Whenever red pillars' arguments are criticized, they resort to very predictable counter arguments. I'm just telling the truth. It's the truth, even if you don't like to hear it.
Now, a lot of times it is true, but it's not the complete truth.
What I'm saying is based on facts and logic and science.
Now, this should be absolutely, you can't sit here and mock people basing anything on facts. Her entire argument supposedly is supposed to be scientific and factual, based on psychology and grounded understandings of how humans behave. So you can't sit here and then mock people that use facts. Now, you can't do that.
Science, and you're just emotional because you don't like it. But I hope this video has showed that in reality, their talking points are very far from scientific and logical.
Wrong, because you validated everything with science. You just used a different term for it. He used one term and then you validated with actually 3 different theories. So she took the sexual marketplace value and then validated with 3 distinct theories. So no, you didn't do what you thought you did.
Sexual market value is a fringe online theory that has potential to seriously harm relationships, and a psychologist should know better than that, especially one who describes himself as providing valuable psychological knowledge to people. Dr. Taraban makes logical sounding arguments, but they're based on faulty definitions, revisionist history.
No, you created the faulty definition. Like you literally looked up the wrong word. That was crazy. She's bad at this.
Sexist biases, inaccurate assumptions. He completely erases women's contributions as a way of justifying why women hold no value.
No. He's saying those contributions aren't what men are looking for, which is mostly true. Like he's specifically is looking for beauty, which again, he's allowed to want what he wants. And again, the video she's reacting to, or did react to, was him what he wanted in a woman. He's allowed to look for what he wants.
He frames a Madonna whore complex as objective truth. He shares only half the equation when it's
now that's probably going to be in her longer video. He shares the Madonna whore complex as objective truth. It's a psychological theory. So I will have to get to that.
Convenient for him. He uses loaded language, and even the same.
He uses loaded language. You've called him a misogynist. You're ashamed of him. You wanted to throw up in your mouth. Like what
exact phenomenon, if applied to men, is used in much more respectful language than if applied to women. His conclusions have the potential to really put women in harm's way. I'd argue that
harm's way? Harm's way? Loaded language?
Following his dating advice is not only dangerous to relationships as a whole, but specifically to women's safety.
Dangerous to women's safety? Loaded language? He uses loaded language?
I don't know if he genuinely believes the stuff he's spewing or if he's just capitalizing off a profitable niche.
Spewing? Capitalizing?
To be honest, I don't give a I'm honestly ashamed to have the same degree as him.
And
ashamed? Come on. Who's using loaded language? Like, who's using loaded language? This lady, the lack of self-awareness is crazy.
Here is where Dr. Anna actually makes her strongest point of the whole video. When red pill arguments get criticized, the response.
And that's why people will call it emotional. That was all emotional language. But I don't give a fuck. You do. How could you not care and also be ashamed? You know, it's crazy. I can't stand people like that.
It's always the same. I am just telling the truth. It is facts and logic. You are just emotional. She is right that this is a deflection. Presenting something as facts and logic does not make it immune from scrutiny. And using a psychology degree as a shield for claims that go beyond what the research actually supports is a problem regardless of which direction you are arguing in.
It is. That's not what Orion was doing, though, just to be clear.
But, and this is the key, she then does the exact same thing. She presents her counter-arguments as the scientific consensus and frames his audience as people who have been misled, without ever asking the central question, why are they there in the first place? Now here is the meta-observation that neither of these creators will make about themselves. Dr. Taraban built a psychology channel. His regular content got 8,000 views. His manosphere content got 400,000. So he followed the algorithm. Dr. Anna built a psychology channel, and she made a video reacting to Dr. Taraban's manosphere content, which is getting significantly more engagement than her regular content. She is doing exactly what she is criticizing him for, following the engagement, chasing the reaction, building an audience on the back of the same dynamic she is arguing against. The outrage and the content it is outraged about are two sides of the same algorithm. They need each other. They feed each other. Neither one exists without the other. That is not a criticism of Dr. Anna specifically. She makes some valid points. She clearly has genuine concerns about the impact of this content on women and on relationships. But the question she never asks is the most important one in the room. What are these men experiencing that has 50 times more of them clicking on Women Want It All than on a video about neglected kinds of love? What is the need underneath the content?
But what is insinuated in that nobody ever asked that question is that they don't care. They don't care. That's unimportant. The curiosity is missing as to why they're in that state. They don't care. Like the social dynamics that create that, like low employment, unemployment, and lack of education, that kind of stuff. Yeah, people investigate that. But as far as the personal curiosity with men, like why do men feel this way? No. And do not care. They where's that at? Where's he at? Where's my boy at? When I think about it.
We do not care.
Because if you are a psychologist and you cannot ask that question, you are not treating the patient. You are just diagnosing the symptom. This channel has been asking that question for years. The answer is always the same. People do not show up for content that makes them feel nothing. They show up for content that names what they are already feeling but could not articulate. Dr. Taraban named it for millions of men. Whether his framework is perfectly calibrated to the research or not, the real work is not debunking the framework. The real work is understanding why the framework landed and then asking what comes next. That is not Dr. Anna's video. That is MHD.
What comes next, man? That's tough. I'm gonna tell you, as somebody that thinks about this stuff a lot, it's really hard to figure out what should be done next because it's easy to see the problems. It's so easy to see the problems. I can see where the thoughts break down. I can see where people are intent. I was just arguing with somebody the other day, and I realized, like, you know what? I see the problem. You're stuck in what the intent was, and we're telling you what the impact was, and that's what a lot of this stuff is. Women are like, oh, the intent was this, but like the impact. Men are saying the impact is like this. Like, come on, we're being impacted, and it's tough, man. I feel blurry. Anyway, let's go to Dr. Anna's video. Dr. Anna. So we're going to look at her video in full. We are going to look at her video. Now I did kind of, prejudice it looking at Manosphere Highlights Dailies first. But let's take a look at Dr. Anna's video real quick. Let's share that tab yet. Let me bring it in. Boom. All right. Now this is a long, but let's see.
A couple of weeks ago, I got a video request from one of my patrons, Lily. She brought to my attention an account by somebody.
Oh, let me look. I don't give a fun. As I carefully edit and craft the strategic argument to this man's silly statement. Yeah. 42-minute response that she doesn't care about. She doesn't give a fun, but made a 42-minute response. That's the most. I don't care. That's the way you tell people I don't care. I make a 42-minute response. But also, you're ashamed. In like the very next sentence, I don't care, but I'm ashamed of this person. I'm like, come on. Maybe the solution is care. Yeah, we do have to care, and it's difficult because that's where what he said was important. People want acknowledgement. There was a quote, and I'm about to botch it, but it circled around our area, probably around first or second year of this channel. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so that's where the acknowledgement piece that Manosphere Highlights Daily talked about. People want acknowledgement. They want to know you care first. And I think men and women are in a stalemate of needing to feel cared for first. And then the second part is nobody wants to offer the reciprocity when they do feel cared for. Like there's an endless bucket of there's a bottomless pit of care need that the person will then turn around. I think that's where narcissism keeps getting thrown into. Oh, you're narcissistic. No matter how much care I throw at you, it's never enough for you to return the care. And I think that's what's happening. But the problem is, it's a social contagion. So as soon as like Rashawn, I start showing care. I'm gonna change my entire content strategy. I'm gonna show nothing but care and love for Black women. So then the few people that watch me will be positively impacted by me, but then they'll be in other spaces too where they get negatively impacted. So their care bucket never gets filled because there's not enough to counteract the negative messaging. And the same thing on the dude side. So there's never enough to drown out the negativity. Because psychologically, and I don't know how, there's been studies for this too, you need one positive for every 5 negatives to stay copacetic. And that's in a relationship, but I think that's a broader principle. So I am stretching the data a bit, but I believe I think that's probably the healthy ratio. You need something good. If you're gonna do a 5 bads, like I think that's why the weekend, you got 5 weekdays, struggle. Man, we got to get them a break. You got to get a break. But I think that's the ratio. Yeah, and then people stop caring because they haven't received it. Yeah. And then you give up, and I ain't never gonna care no more. I cared, and ain't nobody cared that I cared. I was giving care for 2 years, and nobody cared me back. So it ends up in that endless loop. So I get why we end up here, but it's hard. So you need more people. Earlier in the video, they said something about committing to something that you can't win at. That's what's going to be required. Which, not trying to go here, but I'm gonna go here. That's the Jesus type of love. You have to commit to loving and forgiving even when you're not going to win. And Manosphere Highlights Daily said people don't do that. I said people do that. And that's the only thing that's going to solve the problem is more and more people committing even when they're not going to win or get acknowledged. And that's tough. That's a tough ask. Yeah, fuck you. That's a tough ask because that's sacrificial. Sacrificial love is hard to come by, which is why I call it the Jesus love. Sacrificial love is hard to come by. I am going to sacrifice my need to win. Yeah, it's tough. That's tough. It's super tough. But I that's why, even though I'm not a Christian, I believe that there are Christian principles that would benefit society because that sacrificial agape type of love is more useful in what people are struggling with right now. If we had just base level agape love, some of these things wouldn't even be problems. But even like the Christians, conservative Christians, evangelicals, they don't even exude agape love. Like it's disgusting. But let's go, Dr. Anna. So we're gonna listen to her straight from the horse's mouth.
Called Orion Taraban asking me to break down his content. At first, he seemed to me just your run-of-the-mill manosphere content creator with video topics such as men are the prize and women want it all. But then I noticed something concerning. This man has a PsyD, which is the same degree that I have. So at that point I realized, oh, this guy is using his perceived expertise as a psychologist to spread a very dangerous anti-woman message. And who better to explain?
Oh my gosh, she started with dangerous. Like she loaded it from the get-go. He's a very dangerous message. So do you think that if we operated in that type of care and love that it can break barriers? Yeah, of course. Absolutely. But there's a, what do you call it? There's a critical mass. You need a critical mass. You need enough people for it to become catalyzed and infectious. Like you need so many people for something to go viral. Like it's that same type of principle. You need enough of something where it starts to generate its own momentum, and that's where it's hard. That's the hard part. And see, people are so fragmented and separated that getting people on a positive sacrificial movement, that's crazy. Because who will be your accountability partner when nobody lives near each other? It's not a community of people that are by each other, that see each other, that reinforce each other's positive behaviors, that sacrifice themselves to reward other people's sacrificialness. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you do that? With distance and no oversight, no accountability. Human nature is going to take over, which I think, again, gets us to where we are here. There is no community, no village. Oh, no, you did. No, you did. See, positivity works. Positivity does work. But they say the only way to overcome hate is with love. I do believe that, but you need enough love to overcome the hate. You can't just be like a little love and a lot of hate and a little bit of love is over. Nah, not going to work. Not going to work. But there is a threshold where love is enough. But that's the group project. Yeah, you have to have enough. Like it's a math problem. For me, it's always a math equation. You need enough love to conquer the hate. You need enough light to drive away the darkness. But it's a math problem. There is a specific number when which you reach it, there's enough light or there's enough love or there's enough money. You know what I'm saying? There's always enough. There's a threshold where it's enough. But getting there is not easy.
And why his rhetoric is not based on any credible psychological theories than a woman who also has a doctorate in psychology. Let's do just that.
A little love you could. Love's in need of love today. Oh, she got books. Hold up.
In psychology. Let's do just that.
Real life psychology applications. Courses. Okay. Go get it. The Mindset and Habits of Winners, $119.99. The Connection Course, Skills for Healthy Relationships, $238. Let me turn this up. I think I got it on 360. Yeah, my bad, y'all. I'm sorry, y'all. A lot of times I'm listening to the content and I'm not watching it. So I turn the video down so that it buffers better. That's on me. I didn't even think to fix that. Y'all been looking at her and she been in Roblox. She's probably been in Minecraft. My bad. Dang, she's got like 6 books. Okay, she pumping out the content. All right. Most expensive one is $15. Come on, y'all. I'm going to tell you, though, those are some unattractive covers. I mean, from a distance. Those are really unattractive. Ugh. She's got a Patreon, too. Come on. Monthly exclusive videos and personal essays. Let's go. Disclaimer. Okay, here's her disclaimer. This channel is for informational and entertainment purposes only, so she didn't verbalize her disclaimer. It was written. Nothing on this channel is intended as therapy, nor as a substitute for healthcare services of any kind. The thoughts expressed in the videos are my own personal opinion. Okay, I would have thought she would have verbalized something like this. I'm used to listening to people. So I didn't see this because I was listening to it when I started it. And do not reflect the opinion of any institution I'm involved with. My videos are general and not specific to your unique case. I do not provide personalized advice here. If you are a past client, due to confidentiality and privacy, I cannot engage with you on this platform. Respectfully. If you're having a mental health crisis, call your national emergency number such as 911 or crisis hotline. Okay. That's a solid, multifunctional disclaimer. I'm just so used to the therapist. Again, I'm listening a lot of times, so I missed this. I didn't get far into her thing. I was like, you know what? I'm going to react to this.
So Dr. Taraban calls his psychology psych hacks, which sounds great in theory, but the issue is that he hasn't truly provided any psych hacks or any evidence-based psychoeducation on his channel in about 3 years. 4 years ago, when Dr. Taraban first
Okay, I'm not going to argue that.
Started his channel. His videos were on respectable, scientifically sound topics, such as how to let people be wrong and use emotions to make better decisions. And then about a year in, something curious happened. He published a video titled, Guys, Find Your Ugly Duckling or How to Find a Good Woman, which got about 10 times the amount of views that he was typically getting around that time. For the most part, he went back to his regularly scheduled videos, but more and more manosphere-sounding titles started to get peppered in there, until eventually pretty much all of his content started to sound very woman negative. Women treat men the way men treat jobs. Women punish the men they like. Women want it all, which has 427,000 views, juxtaposed with the video right before it, which was about neglected kinds of love, which only got 8,000.
It's so crazy that she called this woman negative. Shout out to Mr. She Said Kitchen Medicine Cabinet. Hello, hello. Good to see you. Good to see you. Appreciate you for popping through. It's so crazy that she called this woman negative. Women want it all. Women say that. I want it all. And then other women be like, well, you can have it all, but you can't have it right now. So are women negative? Like, cause it be like the girls. And they be like, you can have it all, girl. I can have it all. You can have it all. We can have it all. So it's woman negative for restating what women say? Like, that's crazy. Like, that's wild. Now, some of the stuff did sound a little, I could see putting negative. What is that one? Hold on. There was one.
There. Until eventually, pretty much all of his content started to sound very woman negative. Women treat men the way men treat jobs.
That may or may not be negative. You got to listen to it to know if it's negative. It may be better to treat it. It may be more beneficial to treat it that way.
Women punish.
Now that one sounds negative. Punitive punishment. That's negative. Women punish the men they like. That sounds negative. Okay, that's the first one for me.
The men they like. Women want it all, which has 427,000 views, juxtaposed with the video right before it, which was about neglected kinds of love, which only got 8,400 views. The Redpill content got about 50 times more engagement than his regular content.
Now, shout out to Minister Highlights Daily who said, like, but why? Like, what? Like, ask the question. Why would that resonate so much more with men?
Dr. Taraban's more recent content.
And the answer may be flattering or unflattering to men, but you have to ask the question first. Like, that's the biggest point.
Seems to be largely based on what the Red Pill community calls sexual market value. According to this theory, relationships between men and women can be simplified into an economic system.
Okay, wait.
Theory.
I didn't even see this first. I wasn't really paying attention when MHD reacted to it. So she even brings up the definition where it says determined by a combination of factors. So even what she said, let's let her get to it. But remember that it said determined by a combination of factors. Because if she lied like that. She clipped it and added the visual to the video and it would still lie. Oh my God.
Relationships between men and women can be simplified into an economic system. Men and women hold value to potential or actual sexual partners based on different things. Men based on income, women based on youth and age.
So she just cites one trait, which made it seem like she's only allowing for one.
The sexual market value theory is not credible or scientifically sound in the field of psychology. It greatly exaggerates and oversimplifies tiny seeds of truth from theories that do exist, such as the social exchange theory.
Okay, that explains how people behave in relationships by using cost-benefit analysis. And obviously there will be multiple costs, multiple benefits, and you analyze which one is greater, pros and cons list. This is a glorified pros-cons list, which is sexual marketplace value.
Which says that relationships are all a cost-benefit analysis and they require some level of reciprocity for them to be healthy.
So it's a pros and cons, and I have to get some pros and cons back. If I give pros and cons, I have to get pros and cons. That's all that is. That's all sexual marketplace value was.
Or the mating strategies theory, which says that people use different mating strategies, whether they're pursuing a short-term or long-term partner.
Which sexual marketplace talks about that too. Hookup culture versus marriage. And who the people that from hookup culture that then want to get married, what the cost benefit is there. They talk about that too. Like, I hate that.
Partner. Evolutionary psychology does love to talk about how men on average prefer younger and more beautiful partners, and women do on average tend to prefer men who have higher income due to evolutionary reasons. However, even when averages do exist, they're probabilistic, not deterministic.
And nobody said they were deterministic. Nobody has said that. They're just saying it's probable. It's highly likely. You're most likely going to run into this. That's all they're saying.
Meaning it would be accurate to say women self-report preferring blank trait on average, but it's not scientifically supported to say women will always go for a Chad. And in fact, even within evolutionary psychology...
Did she edit that laugh in? Like, she laughed, but she edited it, but then like kept the laugh in.
Blank trait on average, but it's not scientifically supported to say women will always go for a Chad. And in fact, even with...
Okay, she just left the laugh in and then cut it. Ugh, that's off. Ugh.
Within evolutionary psychology, large meta-analyses have raised questions into the assumption that men and women really do prefer these things. When those differences exist, effect size tend to be quite small, which suggests there are other, a lot more important variables at play in what draws people to each other. Gender equality in society tends to greatly reduce those differences. What people say they want in self-report questionnaires is often not what they actually go for in reality.
Redpill and Manosphere talk about that all the time too. And even the women. The women in the space say the exact same thing. Oh, dude said they want a natural woman, but then they out there with that woman with that BBL. So I mean, everybody, she thinks she's refuting, but she just is showing her lack of insight. She just hasn't done no actual, because she doesn't care. Like we talked about a little bit ago, they don't care. They just want to say stuff.
And so the truth seems to be that women tend to report prioritizing financial resources in a partner slightly higher than men do, and men tend to report wanting attractiveness and youth in a
Yeah, that's why I called her a witch. She's got a hocus pocus with a broom on there. Then she got moons out, brooms out. Then she got cats and outfits. Her familiars. You know what I'm saying? She got her familiars on the wall. Yeah, buddy. I can hear the elevator music leaking from her ears. You still? Yeah, what up, no? Good to see you.
partner slightly more than women do. Evolutionary forces, of course, play a role in mate selection, but red pillars way exaggerate that role. And in my opinion,
I bet her husband is not 5'2". I bet her husband she's married. I bet he's not 5'2". Those are her degrees. Yeah.
and evolutionary psychology is one of the weakest subfields of psychology. What else is at play in attraction? Human attraction is highly culture-bound, time-dependent, individual, and attachment-focused. Like in the early 2000s, it was considered attractive to be very heroin chic and wear low-cut pants, whereas in the 2010s, it was the complete opposite. Women were...
Nah, I don't want to call her stupid. I'm lying. I do want to call her stupid. She's stupid. So she talked about evolutionary psychology. And then she stitched in how women are styling themselves in different decades close together. Not like the Victorian era and 2020. Not like, I don't know, the year 400. Not the medieval era. And now she went like 2000s and 2010s. That's not evolutionary. That's how you style yourself. That's more about your culture and fashion. Why would you bring that in evolutionary psychology? Like, that is crazy.
Supposed to be curvy and wear high-waisted pants. One woman might be attracted to a man who's financially successful.
The 50s even. But even still, that's fashion and style. That's not evolutionary. That's not evolutionary psychology. Evolutionary is like, okay, we evolved from early primates. So our limbic system is cued to certain things. So if they have certain cues, then your brain, like the male brain, will seek out this, and the woman's brain will seek out this. The men were hunters, so they are threat detectors, and the women were gatherers, so they blah, 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 blah. Like, that's the evolutionary psychology. And she's talking about fashion. Like, that would automatically make me want to look at you like you're an idiot. Like, that's crazy.
While another might not care at all about it. And in fact, there is certainly no shortage of examples in society of women who end up with men who do not support them whatsoever. Attraction is also attachment-based. Who don't care at all about it. And in fact,
that was so stupid that I stopped paying attention to her. My bad. I gotta lock in. I thought she was trying to merge the thought process. Man, she's doing a lot. She's doing the most. And she's doing the least with the most. The most with the least. Yeah. That's bad.
10s, it was the complete opposite. Women were supposed to be curvy and wear high-waisted pants. One woman might be attracted to a man who's financially successful, while another might not care at all about it. And in fact, there is certainly no shortage of examples in society of women who end up with men who do not support them whatsoever.
So this is also stupid. Manosphere and Redpill talks about this. She even cut out, she took a screenshot of the sexual marketplace value thing, and it said multiple factors. Yes, they talk about the Chads, and they also talk about the Tyrones. People want different things at different times for different reasons. It's all addressed, and she's trying to, oh my God, it's bad. She's trying though. E for effort. Nah, this is just stupid. She's an idiot.
Attraction is also attachment-based. It's not about what value that person brings to your life.
It's attraction based, and you're attracted to a value, something that you value. That's what you're attracted to, is the thing that you value. Oh my God.
But it's also about the bond that you ideally develop with them.
And then you can learn to value the bond, and you can be attracted to the bond. You can be attracted to the intimacy. I love this person because of this. It's she's doing too much.
Which is why, for example, when someone's partner falls sick, people often continue to take care of them, even though they're not really getting anything out of the relationship.
Shout out to LeVar Ball, man. Taking care of somebody when they're sick, they have a stroke, man. You looking after them. You know, you've been together 30 years and you looking after them because they fell down, but you want to pick them up like a big baller you are, only to get left when you got to get your foot amputated from diabetes. Oh my God. Whew. Whew. Shout out to the manosphere.
Anymore. In reality, attraction is not as simple as all men and all women benefit from relationships and want these specific things, which can distill a person's value into a concrete number. But let's look at some of Dr. Taraban's claims more.
Nobody said that. So what they call this a straw man fallacy. She's made up an argument, and she's arguing against something that nobody's ever put forward. That nobody's ever put that forth. That every single man and every single woman, they want this one thing, and you can validate it with nobody ever has ever said that in the history of saying stupid things. I've heard a lot of dumb things. Nobody said that.
Closely. Starting with this video that he titles his ideal woman a useful 8. Because obviously we are all itching to know what Dr. Taraban's ideal woman is.
I'm Dr.
And again, more people wanted to watch what his ideal woman is. They wanted to watch her videos. Well, she's mocking him, but it's like you're mocking herself. More people cared about this man's ideal woman than care about your breakdowns of him talking about his ideal woman. Like, at some point, man, you gotta have some self-awareness.
Orion Taraban, and this is Psychax, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic for today's short talk is a useful 8. So from time to time, I receive a specific question from both men and women. Orion, you talk so much about sexual relationships, so tell us, what is your ideal woman? Here it is. For me, an ideal woman is a useful 8.
So let's break down the two components of this sentence.
No, you shouldn't, because you're going to break down his personal opinion. Why would you need to break down his personal opinion? That's only going to impact his life, how he chooses. Why would you do that? Don't do that. But I know you're going to, because you're stupid.
Useful, which relies on this very self-centered transactional outlook of relationships, and 8, which relies on a very objectifying view of relationships, which again boils down a person's value into one numerical score. Starting with the first part, useful. What, you might ask, does Dr. Taraban thinks makes a woman useful? Well, serving a man.
Well, it means that she must actively generate value. An 8 to be helpful. A good woman, a smart woman, once she secures access to a man, starts to look around, starts to carefully observe a man's life and what he is trying to accomplish in order to identify opportunities where she can be of service. But
now she would have to go against the history of humanity to really argue against that point. What they said, wait till a man's heart was through his stomach. Being useful, you're feeding a man. He needs to eat. You're being useful. That's the oldest adage I can imagine. Like, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Being useful. So he didn't invent this concept of being useful. Women want useful men. We talked about that. Nobody wants anybody useless. Why would you want somebody useless? So that part shouldn't even be disputed. Nobody wants a useless person. Nobody has ever said, I'm gonna go out there and find me somebody that's useless, that has no utility. They can't make me laugh. I can't trust them. They can't help fix anything. They don't cook. They're just absolutely useless. Nobody wants that. Nobody's ever said that. So that part shouldn't even be argued, but she found a way. The second part, the 8, the rating, that's the thing that she probably should have spent more time on.
Orion, some women will say, why would I want to serve a man?
I think I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
Pretty disgusting way to view dynamics between men and women. It reveals a very hierarchical view of the genders, where women are relinquished to the role of servant. They're basically beneath men. Now, as you'll see later on in the
Man, and I really hate that she stretched it like that, because he's talking about his personal, what he desires. He wants somebody that's useful. That's not hierarchical, because somebody that can help you, you can become dependent on somebody's help, which puts them at the top of the hierarchy. But she doesn't even think.
video, Dr. Taraban likes to redefine words. So let's look at the actual definition of servant so that he can't sort of backtrack and pull a Motte and Bailey fallacy. A servant is an individual.
And then she really did bring up a totally different definition. So she created a fallacy to circumvent a fallacy, that's hilarious.
Individual who performs.
Again, he never said servant. He never said the word servant. He did say service, useful, value. Those are the words he chose. That doesn't make you a servant. You're not subservient because you do something for somebody.
Duties about the person or home of a master or personal employer. So here we get an idea that is going to continue to come up in his content, that men are kind of like women's employers, and that romantic relationships should involve a woman doing things for a man that make his life easier. Now, what effect do you think this?
And again, why would you want somebody to make your life harder? So that's the inference. You shouldn't look for somebody that makes your life easier. So what should they do for your life? Make it harder? Be neutral, not do anything to your life? They should bring nothing to your life. Why would you look for them if they offer nothing to your life, or they're going to make your life worse? It doesn't. The logic. There's no logic here. It's crazy.
Will have on relationships. What effect do you think it would have if people hearing Dr. Taraban's way of viewing things will also adopt it for themselves? Women will.
It would be beneficial if men and women look for relationships that are beneficial and not just entertaining. If it offers value other than sexual or entertainment, or they make me laugh, if we go beyond that to what actual use and value you bring to my life, do you make my life better, which is what he's saying, everybody would be healthier mentally, physically. Like, shout out to the Seds. They look out for each other in more those ways, like the kitchen medicine cabinet. I'm looking out for you through even the way you eat. I'm promoting your health through the way you eat. You need people that are useful. You need people that, okay, I'm going to be at work. Can you pick this up? Or can you mail this letter? Or can you make this call while I'm busy? I'm going to be with the kids. Can you take my mom over here? You need useful people. That's social lubrication. You need to facilitate life at some point, and you need usefulness for that.
Internalize the message that they are below men, that their worth is dependent on them making somebody else's life easier. And so they're probably going to stay in relationships with men who mistreat them, who confirm that.
Why would you stay in a did he? Why? How does she make that leap? How do you jump to being in a relationship where you're being mistreated because you're being useful? See, you think the natural inference is you're being useful, so the person is grateful. One person is useful, the other person is grateful. The person is grateful reciprocates out of their gratitude, which becomes a use to the person who was originally useful. That's what you would want to happen. That's the ideal. That should be the natural order of things, an exchange. Why would you then be being mistreated? So then you have to be assuming that men are just naturally going to mistreat people that they find useful, which is terrible. That's misandrous.
Belief that they're beneath them. Men are going to internalize the message that they are above women, and they're therefore going to feel more justified to mistreat women.
So automatically, if somebody's above somebody, they mistreat them. So mothers are above their children. So do mothers mistreat their children? I mean, shout out to Miss She Said. We find that to be the case. So maybe this is the way a lot of women think. If they have power, they're going to abuse it. Because not everybody does that. Not everybody wants to abuse the people under them. Yes, a lot of men do abuse people that are beneath them. That happens. I wouldn't say it doesn't. But what does it say that you think everybody does that? Everybody does not. You can't even think that if you're a woman and going to be a mother, because you're thinking that everybody who's above in the hierarchy abuses that power and mistreats the people beneath them. That's crazy. I wouldn't want to think like that.
If they so desire.
And then she's also a psychologist. Her patients are beneath her in a hierarchy of authority and understanding. So then she's mistreating her patients, like by her own logic.
Because as we know, based on the most recent research, mistreating other people basically boils down to entitlement and a sense of superiority. And regardless.
Oh, okay. So now mistreatment is now being redefined. She just redefined mistreatment. Let's look up the word. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. I don't believe she just did that. And she talked about Orion Taraban redefining words. All right. Just so we could all see it. Mistreat is to treat badly or to abuse. It's a behavior. You're badly treating, you're mistreating, you're poorly treating. There's a treatment that you're applying. This is crazy that she just said that. Hold up, man. I can't believe she said that. But then she called it entitlement.
Justified to mistreat women if they so desire, because as we know based on the most recent research, mistreating other people basically boils down to entitlement and a sense of superiority.
So those are both feelings. A sense of entitlement is a feeling. I'm owed something. And a sense of superiority is I'm better or above this. Those are both feelings. You can have both of those feelings and not mistreat somebody. That's a sign of character. If you have those feelings and then you act out and mistreat people, then you have poor character. So she's assuming things. She's baked in an assumption into the mistreatment. She's gone from how somebody feels to their behavior. A lot of people have feelings that they don't behave on. I want to run people over. I've wanted to run people over in a car for decades now. I've never done it. So how people feel is not necessarily indicative of how people treat other humans, because we have rules, we have laws, we have morals. So we have empathy. So there's lots of things that stop somebody from taking their feeling and turning it into an action. She should know that as a psychologist. Oh, that's terrible. But now mistreatment, she's redefined as a sense of superiority and entitlement.
And regardless of gender, the relationship will deteriorate between two people hearing this, because one or both partners will.
Now she's saying if somebody hears his content, they don't have any ability to think for themselves. Their whole relationship will deteriorate just from hearing this guy talk. That is incredible. Wow. She is, to me,
the relationship will deteriorate between two people hearing this, because one or both partners will start to see it as transactional. And recent research has shown us how it's incredibly corrosive to treat relationships like transactions and to keep score. This recent long-term study from Germany found that when partners expect something in return for favors or sacrifices, their relationship satisfaction declines. It seems to be a pretty immediate predictor of a drop in the relationship satisfaction. Partners keep score, and immediately afterwards, their relationship quality plummets. There's no evidence in the study that people who are unhappier tend to then view relationships as more transactionally. The opposite seems to be true. Immediately afterwards, their relationship quality plummets. There's no evidence in the study that people who are unhappier tend to then view relationships as more transactionally. The opposite seems to be true. And even if both partners are equally transactional in their view, that doesn't seem to help their relationship satisfaction. So,
which I hate that she just did that. So I believe, I didn't look at the study. She has to have misunderstood the study, because there's no way that the study concluded that if the people see the relationship as transactional asymmetrically, like not even, the relationship declines. And if they see it as transactional the same, the relationship declines, which means any level of being able to see transaction, your relationship declines, which means that nobody could see that they want reciprocity. Anybody that ever asks for reciprocity, or, oh, you did this for me, so I want to make sure I do this for you, or you stepped up for my birthday, so I want to make sure I do it big for your birthday. Those are all transactions. Anybody who's ever had those thoughts now is on a trajectory of relational decline based on what she just said. The study says she couldn't possibly have understood the study, because it's impossible that everything makes your relationship decline. Any observation of there being a transaction or an exchange in a relationship makes your relationship decline. That can't be what the study says.
a psychologist who encourages people to objectify each other and views relationships as transactional either doesn't have a good grasp of what science actually tells us is good for relationships, or doesn't really care and is just giving bad advice for profit. In reality, happy relationships are based on teamwork, positive regard.
Now I gotta look back at you offering courses talking about bad advice for profit. Anna.
Friendship. Reducing human beings to an economic framework is a recipe for relational unhappiness. What about the second half of his sentence, an 8?
The 8.
So if transactions are bad in a relationship, and she's offering transactions for her thought process, for her skills, her knowledge, but it's behind the transaction, wouldn't that also be mistreatment? Isn't she mistreating people by transacting mental health, transacting She's treating it as a transaction. She's selling it with courses and books. If transactions are so negative, why is she doing it? That's interesting. And she got a Patreon too. That's more transactional. She's got a transactional relationship with her audience. I can't stand stupid
It
people.
has to do with her perceived sexual marketplace value, or PSMV. A PSMV of
Dag, I ain't made it 10 minutes. Man, it's
8
hard to
means
deal
that
with stupid.
to me, within
I have an allergy to stupid. I'm sorry to talk over here. I have such an allergy to stupid people. But she went stupid. She got triggered. Being emotional makes people stupid. Being emotional makes people stupid. So I don't know if she's a completely stupid person or she's got emotional about this thing.
my own perception, the woman in question is an 8 out of 10. So she needs to be fairly attractive. Like, I've discovered that a woman must have a PSMV of at least 8 for me.
A PSMV. I know the sexual marketplace value. What is the P? I missed it. Oh, God.
To maintain consistent sexual interest in her. As I've mentioned previously, my rule of thumb here is that I should be able to walk into most rooms with a given woman and want to leave with the woman I brought.
Man, I tell you. Now, when he said this, now this is his personal opinion, his personal taste, his personal standard. It sounds crazy to me. Now, the first part, for him to remain attracted, she has to be at least an 8. Okay, sure. People get bored. You want to, cool. If you walk into a room with a beautiful woman, you don't want to walk out with her because you saw a different beautiful woman. That's crazy. But to each their own. That's his personal feelings, his personal taste. That's his. It just sounds crazy to me.
If I walk into too many rooms too often and I see other women I'd rather be leaving with, I'm just going to be real. It's very unlikely that that relationship is going to last, as I'm going to be emotionally pulled in other directions.
Studies
That's crazy to me. Like, you're with a woman, and you see another beautiful woman, your mind is so distraught and distracted that you're thinking about leaving with a different woman. And if there's ever a more beautiful woman, that's you're emotionally pulled. That's crazy. That's tough. That's a tough place to be. Like, for me though, that would be an unsafe partner, because he can never be around another beautiful woman. That sounds terrible. But he may know that about himself.
also show that people who objectify others tend to be higher in the dark tetrad traits, which, as a reminder, are narcissism, psychopathy, sadism, and Machiavellian. In the dark tetrad
In other directions.
studies also show that people who objectify others tend to be.
She did not just do this. Oh, God. This is a research paper. I would need to see the conclusions. But this is not a conclusion. This is a headline. This could be what they studied. This does not mean that they concluded this, which she's already mischaracterizing it, unless she's read the conclusion. Yeah, because it's so stupid. Because everybody objectifies people. Everybody objectifies people. Not to, and you see, there's a level of objectification where the person stops being human. That may be what she's trying to allude to, but she doesn't delineate. Everybody objectifies other people. It's not, sexual objectification is not the only objectification there is. That's not the only objectification there is. Everybody sees somebody as an object. When you take your car to get repaired somewhere, you're seeing the repairman as an object. Use your body as a tool to fix my vehicle. You're putting somebody's physical body, the object, you're putting the body to work. You don't care if they felt like coming to work that day. You don't care if their aunt is in hospice. They're an object to. You don't take them out to lunch. You don't ask them what they're doing next Tuesday. You don't care about the subject. It doesn't matter. They're employed as an object, which is why employers throw away people. They hire you, they use you till you're exhausted, and then you throw you out. A job looks at you as an object, and when you buy somebody's labor, even as a human, as a person, you're an object. The bus driver, you get on a bus, that person's an object. You're not like, hey, are you hungry? You don't make sure they're physically capable of driving. You don't check to make sure they're not famished or getting ready to pass out. They're an object. We objectify all the time. Do this thing for me. That's an object. That's a tool. We do it all the time. So they would have to clarify. Are they talking about perceive other people as, because he's useful at? Everybody's useful.
Higher in the dark tetra.
If your child is handing you the remote control, that's useful. If you have a child that you say, hey, listen, walk the dog so I can get these dishes washed real quick, and I ain't got to do both of them, that's useful. That's a useful object. And then you may subjectify the person. Hey, if you do this for me, I'll do the thing that you like. I'll get us some ice cream if you help me do this thing. You can subjectify the object, but we all objectify. So if everybody that objectify, you're getting ready to label as the dark triad traits. You're getting ready to label people that objectify as basically evil. That's crazy to me. Like this, for me, this is completely unethical. Don't do this to people.
Triad traits, which as a reminder are narcissism, psychopathy, sadism, and Machiavellianism. They tend.
Now she said, did she say dark triad and then listed 4? Because that's the dark tetrad. I got it.
To be more exploitative.
I'm going to end this at about 15 minutes. I can't do too much more of her. So when we get to the 15-minute mark, I'm done with her, and we'll go to the Orion video, and then I'm gonna get out of here because I can't stomach her. This is only 10 minutes.
More entitled to experience issues in having happy relationships. The researcher said, our findings suggest that a propensity for objectification is predicted by an unwillingness to maintain positive relationships with others, lower intellectual openness, higher entitlement and exploitativeness.
Okay, so there's the conclusions, which I don't know if she summarized it, because conclusions and findings in a study are more than one paragraph. Somebody spent money and time to study something with hundreds of people, thousands of people over days, months, years. They're going to have findings that extend beyond one paragraph. But let's look at these. Our findings suggest that a propensity, which means they have a tendency to do it a lot, to objectify, is predicted. So they're talking about predicting somebody objectifying. So I think this study didn't even study this study doesn't even look at what she said it did. They're predicting objectification, not looking at what objectification predicts. The propensity for objectification is predicted by an unwillingness to maintain positive relationships with others, lower intellectual openness. So they're looking at the traits that lead to somebody having a propensity for objectification. So this isn't even, she's already misattributed what this study was about. Higher entitlement and exploitativeness. So this is exactly what she said the opposite was true on when she talked about transacting. Higher entitlement and exploitativeness, low intellectual openness, not being an unwillingness to maintain positive relationships to others. Those are a predictor of somebody who is likely to objectify. So she's flipped this. Oh my God, the association with these personality traits. So this personality type is typical for objectification. High focus on one's own interests and readiness to exploit others while disregarding their interests and ignoring human attributes such as subjectivity and uniqueness. So this is the exact opposite of what she said it was, which is crazy.
And low tendency to positively respond to others' favors. Dr. Taraban says he can't really maintain sexual interest in a woman who's below an 8. Otherwise, he has a wandering eye. And of course, sexual attraction isn't.
And that's, to me, again, to be fair, to me, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Important in a relationship. It's a key.
I mean, you can see other beautiful women, but to want to leave with them, every time you see another beautiful woman that's more beautiful than the woman you want to leave with her, that feels like a terrible. God dang, I'd hate to know that was a tendency for somebody I was in a relationship with. I wouldn't be able to trust them. That's crazy.
Piece of the puzzle. But if your interest in your partner is dependent on external stimuli, meaning what other women you see when you go out into the world, I find that pretty sad and ego-driven. Notice Dr. Taraban's language when he talks.
That's the first time I would actually agree with her. Like it sucks.
About relationships, he says sexual relationship, not romantic or intimate relationship.
Which he's entitled to. Which he's entitled to pursue what he wants to pursue. It's, again, his ideal partner.
In long-term partnerships, sexual attraction is not the most important thing or the.
Ooh. He didn't say he was looking for a long-term partner. He never said that. So now we're saying what he wants. See, you can't do that.
The only thing that matters. It might be the initial spark that draws two people to each other, and hopefully it's strong enough to last a lifetime. But that initial spark should ideally also open the door for vulnerability, emotional closeness, trust.
What if that's not what you want? What if he's not looking for a long-term partner? So, man, goodness. So now she's assigning what his desire should be. Now, whatever he wants for his life doesn't even matter anymore. She's cut that out. Now she's saying that everybody has to want a long-term partner.
Care, respect, teamwork, support. Relationship science tends to distinguish between initial attraction and relational arousal, meaning the draw you feel towards someone with whom you've developed a deep long-term relationship. If you find yourself not wanting to be faithful to someone because there are other more attractive options out there, it begs the question, have you ever actually developed a deep enough relationship with someone where you know what that relational arousal even is? And if you have...
Now, from somebody who listens to his content, the answer is yes. He's had those long-term relationships. I redeemed Hydrate from Twitch. Yeah, okay. It's interesting because I've listened to him. I've listened to him before, and he's talked about he's had long-term relationships that didn't work out for a myriad of reasons. So he has, but I guess now he's on that type of time. He's not trying to have a long-term serious relationship. And a lot of guys in the red pill space are like that. It's just the famous line, and I hate this line, but I understand it. The juice ain't worth the squeeze. Man.
Haven't ever experienced that, are you really in a position to be giving people relationship advice? Or are you just encouraging them to also adopt your stunted, transactional, objectifying view of other people? Studies also show that people tend to end up in relationships with people who are similar in attractiveness to them. So if you're going to expect an above average attractive woman, it's probably only realistic to expect that if you yourself are above average in attractiveness. Of course, there are exceptions. There are always people who date out.
Yeah, there are exceptions. There are a lot of exceptions, and especially for dudes who might have a decent following on social media. Like that, you can earn yourself up a point or two on the attractiveness scale by having access to money and attention. Like, she's not even giving honor to that. Like the basic reality of lived humans. Like we understand this stuff. It's crazy.
Out of their league, as people say. But if you feel entitled to a woman who is substantially more attractive than you, I do have to give a little bit of a side eye to that, because remember, entitlement in relationships is a pretty dangerous ingredient.
Now again, don't infer that he's entitled. He said what his ideal was. So ideal typically is a thing that you have a hard time attaining. So he struggles to find a mate. Ideally. Most ideals are hard to attain or maintain. So if most ideals are hard to attain and maintain, that's not what he's even used to. So feeling entitled to it, it's a tough thing to lump on him, but she could just be giving general advice, which is fair.
Now, why, you might ask, doesn't he want a woman who's above 8 in attractiveness? Well, folks, it seems like this man believes in the crazy hot matrix, which is...
Why you just criticize him for feeling entitled to an 8? Now you're wondering why he wasn't asking for more? Wait, come on, Anna. Don't be like that. Don't do that.
All very scientific and credible.
Because, in my experience, women much higher than an 8 tend to come with a whole host of problems. Like, I'm sure you've seen the crazy hot matrix. There's some truth to that. I've dated some women who were pretty high up in terms of their PSMV. And while there certainly were some enjoyable aspects to that experience, these women were also just a fucking handful. These women are kind of like exotic supercars. Yes, they look amazing. Yes, they turn heads and inspire envy. Yes, you're going to feel like $1 million when you pull up to the spot with one. But there are so many hidden costs and inconveniences with respect to their maintenance.
Let's look at that real quick. How all of these perks are about bolstering one's own social status. Is this about actual attraction or just looking cool to other people? You are allowed to value different things. What I wish, though, because most people don't even understand this. Most people are looking for stuff like this, social standing and status, and they use somebody else to attain it, and they're not aware of it. Like a lot of people want to get married just to be able to say they're married. We've talked about this, men and women, everybody said, we all understand this. Some people just want the ability to be able to say, I'm married. I was married now, or to have the wedding. There's a lot of social stuff that is laid on top of relationships. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I think people just need to be more aware of it so that you can communicate it. Because if the social stuff is more important to you, the other person may actually be along for that ride. But sometimes you'll get the social stuff and it may not pan out because it wasn't communicated. Another person couldn't work with you. Mm-hmm. And because they couldn't work with you, you didn't get the status, the bump you wanted. Like all the people that put their relationships on social media. Why do you think they did? Why do you think they're in their relationship? It's social. So a lot of times there's a lot of people who are with somebody for a social status, men and women. And that's old school. That's what marriage used to be about. People married for allyship. There was a lot of social status. You would try to get up in class and caste. Like a lot of times marriage was about that. Like, so it's interesting to hear people try to act like that wasn't the case for like a millennia. Like social marriage, relationships, and social status was like one of the things. Yeah, arranged marriages and stuff like that. This is a case of woman feminists telling men how they should behave. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, arranged marriages, money, all this stuff was about social status. People didn't used to marry for love. Like people did not fall in love and get married. That's new. Like that's mostly new. Or that was for rich people. Like the aristocracy, maybe some of them could find somebody they love. Maybe. But a lot of times they had to arrange marriages or to marry somebody that was from an allied country or somebody they wanted to have a treaty or pact with. So I mean, different cultures, different places, different times have been done differently. But the way we're doing it now is completely different. Where you go find out your own partner, you fall in love, and that's the person you marry. Because it really doesn't even make sense. Because I love you, I'm going to sign a contract with you. Like that's weird. Like, do you put your kid on kid contracts because you love them? Why would you take somebody down to the courthouse? Like, think about that. I love you. I have such I care about you so much. I want to take you down to the courthouse where there are officers and judges and attorneys, and I want to sign this paper with you. Like, does that connect? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. Now you can say, I care about you, so I want to protect you in certain ways. Then you could offer those type of protections. Hey, let's set up an account where you can have some money just in case something happens to me. There's some money. You can do that. Yeah. I mean, just imagine if every time you felt strongly about somebody, you cared about somebody a lot, you put them under some kind of contract with it. You took them to the state or the country. You took them to the federal courthouse or to a state courthouse, and you had them sign some kind of contract between you and them. Wouldn't that be weird? Like, it was your son's birthday, and he was like, I know it's my birthday, mommy, but I want you to get the first slice. And because he was so deferential in that moment and loved you so much, he wanted you to be celebrated on his birthday. He was like, you know what? Let's go sign a kid contract. I'm going to sign you to a parent contract. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. I want you to always get the first slice of cake. So we're going to go to the state, and from now on, because you love me so much, you're always going to get the first slice of cake, and it's going to be in the contract. It's going to be a cake nuptial. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. So the way we even think about it is weird. There's an assumption. There's a way to get to the thing we're actually trying to say if we think about it. Because I care about you, I want you to be looked after and protected even after I'm gone. And you can do that without the state contract. There are ways to do that. You can set up a trust in the person's name. You can start investing under their name. You know, there's a million things you can do. Power of attorney so they can make decisions. We still go through the courthouse. But I'm just saying there's other ways to it. But the way we do it, we assume that this is the way. Because I love you, you have to get married. Why? Why is that the way? We don't even think about it. We don't even question it. So she has absorbed, even though she's anti-patriarchy, she has absorbed the patriarchal, I guess the post-patriarchal. I don't even know how to frame this, but it is a part of patriarchy. That romanticism, that's part of patriarchy. Romance was what the lower class dudes had to do to try to gain favor with women who would typically be paired with or desire upward mobility. They couldn't offer upward mobility. or class. So they had to be romantic. She's promoting romanticism as opposed to the old patriarchy. The old patriarchy, the nobility, they were about social status. The people who had no social status had to be romantic. Love had to woo you, had to get your feelings involved. That's how I would win you over. So it's still patriarchy. It's just the bottom of patriarchy. So instead of advocating for hypergamy patriarchy, she's advocating for broke boy patriarchy, which is still patriarchy though. So it's weird to me, but I don't think she thinks about it that deeply.
Costs and inconveniences with respect to their maintenance. They're just not.
Okay, Bree might be able to appreciate this, but I know she's not here. What if feminism is just patriarchy for broke boys? Like women that like broke boys. That's what feminism is, patriarchy for women that like the broke boys. That's something to think. I need to, Naya, if you could just type that in Discord, because I need to think through that with Bree. Feminism is patriarchy for women that like broke boys. Oh my God. I think I might be onto something.
Practical cars, and they are extremely expensive to acquire and maintain.
Because see, if you like broke boys, you got to go get a job. Feminism. You like broke boys, you're not going to want to marry a broke boy because he's broke. But you're still going to want to have sex. But you're not going to want to have his kids, so you got to be pro-abortion. Oh my God, I think feminism is patriarchy for broke boys. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, I can't wait to have that conversation.
Like the work is never ending, in large part because the intrasexual competition is relentless. I'd get up to go to the bathroom at a restaurant, and there would almost always be guys hitting on them when I got back.
The matrix that he's talking about shows how
his ideal woman is 8. If you go to the bathroom, somebody's hitting on her too. If your ideal woman's a 7, you get up to go to the bathroom, somebody's hitting on her too. You got a 6. It's a possibility somebody's hitting on her too. That you're never going to get around that insecurity.
even the most prized, valued women in a misogynistic person's worldview, a woman who's attractive,
Oh my God, he's misogynistic. Jesus Christ. God.
is devalued and objectified, reduced to her attractiveness, to the point where she can
Reduced to? He elevated by. See, so it's all a framing. She's elevated in social status based upon her attractiveness. He's talking about reduced to. That's not the only thing. That's just what he values.
cannot possibly hold any other positive traits, because that would humanize.
No, she could hold other positive traits, but that's not what he's talking about. In his ideal, how much fleshing out does he have to do for an ideal person? Like, does he have to talk about what book she likes to read? And again, this is a fictional person. Like, how far does he have to go? He's saying what's most important to him. That's crazy. So even in his what do you call that? Even in his fantasy, he has to give this person a bunch of subjective traits. Again, it's this fictional person to make her comfortable, which is crazy.
Her too much. If you concede that a woman has value, it has to be the only metric across which she holds value. Because if you can also say, oh, well, she's also kind of funny and she's kind.
Nobody said she couldn't. He didn't say she couldn't. That's stupid.
And she's smart, you veer way too close to actually viewing her as a human being. Now,
But she's not a human being. It's a fiction. It's something he's thinking about in his head. What are we doing? Come on, lady.
Dr. Taraban's next video is titled, Men Are the Prize. Oh boy. Before we dive in, I have a question for you. Do you like my thumbnail for this video?
No, I don't. We're going to skip Men Are the Prize. Hold up. Let's see. Because MHD didn't do Modern Family, so let's skip to something we haven't heard. Jesus Christ.
The archetypal modern family is a nuclear family. That is, a family consisting of a couple with a child or two living together by themselves in a single household. This isn't exactly new. However, what is novel is that in the vast majority of cases in today's day and age, both parents are working. And it's this fact that creates a lot of the ridiculousness that I'm going to discuss.
Dr. Taraban's idea of this like old nuclear family is incredibly revisionist, filled with historical inaccuracies, and it has a very Western sort of like ethnocentric approach. In most cultures, parents and children cohabitated with or near extended family.
Now, I don't really want to hear her talking about redefining things through a certain lens, because when she talked about evolutionary biology, she flattened the whole of humanity to two styles worn by white women in the 2000s and 2010s. She flattened all of evolutionary biology down to low waist jeans and then the corset top. So she did the exact same thing that she's accusing him of. And it was very ethnocentric. She showed two white women. She did the exact same thing.
And child rearing was much more of a communal group effort than we tend to think of this like 1950s view of the family where we have like a mom and a dad and two kids.
Okay. So see, she's able to correctly identify that he's talking about the 1950s concept of a nuclear family. So everything else she's layering on top of this that's intentional. She's doing this on purpose. That's messed up. That's when you when somebody knows exactly what you're talking about, but they go out of their way to say that you're talking about all this other stuff or not talking about all this other. She knows what he's talking about. She got the message, but it intentionally muddling the message and forcing him to have to talk about everything across all realms of region and culture. Like, that's crazy.
Raising kids on their own. In Eastern Europe, where I come from, I was raised until the age of 4 by my grandma. My cousin lived with our grandma until his mid-30s. I have one aunt who still lives with her mom.
But that doesn't dispel, especially since you know what he's talking about, the 1950s image. He's talking about something very specific, the MAGA image, the 1950s, the 1960s. You know what he's talking about, and if you know that's what he's talking about, you're not even being from this country. It doesn't even pertain to this.
At age 70, and one aunt who lives in the same house as her in-laws. It's also very revisionist to act like women were always just staying at home, raising the kids. Throughout history, most women were working, either as peasants or doing some sort of manual labor.
And that's true. That's true. But the very image he's talking about is brought from television, which a lot of the people in the MAGA movement have co-opted this image from Americana and television, not the actual lived reality of the people that went through the 50s and 60s.
Or some sort of craftsmanship. It was only the upper class women who stayed at home, which obviously is a minority of women.
Modern women are now financially dependent on their employers, who are typically male.
Modern women are now financially dependent on their employers. Yeah, so are men. Notice how he does this thing where he manipulates the narrative.
You didn't say anything there. That's exactly what he was saying. They're financially dependent on their employers instead of their men. Men were always dependent on their employers. Like, okay, all right. Next stupid thing, and I'm tapping out.
By only giving selective information, by only talking about half of the situation. He could have said modern people are financially dependent on their employers.
He could have, but that's not the point he's making. You are so stupid. He is talking about why the modern family is structured how it is. So he's pointing out where the financial dependency has moved from the husband to the employer. So if he said what you're saying, the point wouldn't make any sense.
But he specifically singled out modern women because of the narrative that...
Because that's the change. Men are still employed. Women are now employed ever since the Rosie the Riveter from the wartime effort, where women went to the factories. Now women are in all of the workplaces. That's the change that he's trying to illuminate, to go back to the old 1940s and 50s Americana. This is not that hard to understand. And she understands it because she pointed it out. So all of this would obfuscate. She's trying to obfuscate. She's trying to muddy it, which is crazy.
He's trying to send. It's the same phenomenon as when a lot of red pillars will talk about the male suicide rate, where they say, you know, men are victims because men tend to take their own lives at higher.
Are you going to say that they're not? Are you about to argue that they're not? There's not a social ill. All these men are committing suicide. That's not a problem. Please don't say. I swear to God. Please don't say nothing stupid here. You're going to say something stupid and I know it because you're stupid. But please, so now she's using the fact that men are committing suicide at an unprecedented rate, and she's about to use it as a gotcha or a point, which is already distasteful. Oh my God, this is about to be terrible. Okay. I'm preparing myself emotionally because she's about to make light of the fact that men are committing suicide, which is not something to make light of or to use as a gotcha, but she's doing it. She's here. She's here.
Rates. And yet what they're completely neglecting is that, yes, while men tend to complete suicide at
Okay. Yes, men tend to complete suicide at high rate. Okay, so please, Elise, she's going to go to that women attempted more, which is a deflection. It's not egregious, right? It's not where I thought she was going to go, but it's a deflection.
higher rates, women tend to attempt it at higher rates. And this is not like a suffering contest, right? Like it's not a...
But it is. That's exactly what you just made it. That's exactly what you did. Let's not talk about what men are going through because women are also going through something. That's a suffering contest. So either you're saying, let's not talk about either because we're both suffering, or let's talk about both, which is fair. We can talk about both. But part of talking about both is talking about what men are going through. But you don't want to do that because women are going through something. This is the care thing. When I talk about the care, the reciprocal care, this is the thing. Until she feels like women's problems are cared for, I'm not going to care about what men care about. That's what this is.
About like, oh, well, that means the women suffer more than men and we should feel worse for them. We should have compassion for both of these groups of people for sure. But only talking about half of the equation that makes it convenient for you to run with a specific narrative is really manipulative. Because if you...
No, because if you're talking about what men are going through to men, it's okay to talk about what men are going through with men, which is his audience. If he has, I swear to God, that was my last. I'm gonna let her finish this point, but that was my last stupid thing. I gotta end with her, and then we'll go to his last video. This is an old video of his, but it talks about the people that have problems with his content, which I like that.
You presented the other half of the equation as well to people, your narrative would kind of crumble on itself. Think about like in an interpersonal context. Think about somebody who's coming to you and saying, oh my God, you know, my friend Lacey, she just completely cut me off. And she said, you know, I don't ever want to hear from you again. And you go, oh my God, like that's so heartless. That's so cold. That's terrible of her. And then you go talk to Lacey and Lacey says, this person killed my cat. Like, of course, I don't want to talk to them anymore because they murdered my cat. Wouldn't you then go to this first person and be like, yo, you completely neglected half of the equation. You didn't tell me the full story because there was...
Whoa, that's such a terrible analogy. We're talking about dudes who killed themselves. There is no other side of that story. The point was men who killed themselves. There's no story to tell. They're gone. Like, what are we doing here, lady? They didn't harm somebody else. They harmed themselves. They took themselves out. They weren't domestic violencers. They weren't rapists. They just left the earth. What are we talking about? There was no other side of their story. They killed themselves. They're gone. The story's ended. So either you can talk about that or you won't. That's crazy. That is crazy. What's wrong with this one?
Something that you wanted me to believe. People do this with argumentation all the time. They selectively choose what information to give you. They cherry pick the information they're presenting so that you will believe their narrative instead of presenting you with the full spectrum of the information at their disposal.
So if we're talking about male suicide rate, what is the full spectrum that you get? So if we're talking about male suicidality, you have to talk about women too, to talk about males. I hate when people do that. I hate when people do that because people have done that on the channel here. People have tried to do that to me. You can absolutely have a conversation about one thing. You can absolutely talk about Pepsi without talking about Coke. You can have a conversation about marshmallows without talking about chocolate or graham crackers. You can talk about one thing. It's so easy to do. I hate that.
That doesn't actually fit their narrative. Now, Dr. Taraban says the following about modern families, and he makes sure to say it twice because for some reason he thinks he really ate with that one.
In a modern family,
oh boy,
the man is working to earn money so that he can support a woman who is not his wife to raise his children, and the woman is serving a man who is not her husband to secure her desired lifestyle. I will say that again. In a modern family, the man is working to earn money.
She said he thought he ate with that one. Now, he did repeat it. But all he's saying is they're unmarried. They're having a family, but they're not married. That he didn't have to emphasize it that much. I will admit that.
So that he can support a woman who is not his wife to raise his children, and the woman is serving a man who is not her husband to secure her desired lifestyle.
In reality, it reveals a lot more about his biases against women than it does.
What? How? He's saying that there's a couple that are cohabitating and creating a family together, but they're not married. That's all he said. How's that biased? What are we doing?
About the true nature of gender dynamics. Notice how the same act, having an employer, is framed very differently based on gender. A woman having an employer is a woman serving her employer. A man having an employer is him trying to earn money so that he can support his family. Men were...
Oh, let me go back. Maybe I missed the content. Hold on. Wait a minute. I might have missed that. That might have been on me. That might have been me.
Woman who is not his wife to raise his
about modern families. And he makes sure to say it twice because for some reason he thinks he really ate with that one.
In a modern family, the man is working to earn money so that he can support a woman who is not his wife to raise his children.
Okay. All right. Their children. I mean, it'll be both of their children, unless he's saying stepdaddies. I don't think there's that many stepdaddies.
And the woman is serving a man who is not her husband.
That's her employer.
To secure her desired lifestyle.
Which is to take care of her children. So it's okay, he did frame it. He did frame it differently. He did. My bad. That was on me. I slipped up.
I will say that again.
No.
In a modern family, the man is working to earn money so that he can support a woman who is not his wife to raise his children. And the woman is serving a man who is not her husband to secure her desired lifestyle.
In reality, it reveals a lot more about him.
Okay, now that was she might aid with that one. I ain't gonna lie, because he didn't. Yeah, because he assumed a lot in that example. I don't think most people. I don't know the stats, but I feel completely comfortable saying that most men do not have children that they're working to find a woman to provide for their child. It's both of their children. It's not just he is, because he said he is. So I mean, language matters. So I didn't like the way he framed that one. I'll give it up for her on that one. Point to Anna. First, that's the second time I agree with her. Second time. Let's go. So let's skip over here. Let's skip over to here. So this is Dr. O. When he talked about why some people get so upset with my content, responding to haters, which I think at this point, Dr. Anna is qualified as a hater. For sure. Let's listen to this.
I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is PsycHacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is why some people get so upset with my content. So this episode was actually requested by many of my followers following some of my recent media appearances. Now, I've been doing this now for about 3 years, and I would say that the response to my content on the whole has been extremely positive, like 99% positive, which is a joy and an honor. That said, about 1% of the feedback I receive from folks is extremely negative. And this feedback always pertains to my views on intersexual dynamics and the game of mating and dating. And today I'm going to discuss why this is the case. In the first place, it's important to appreciate that virtually none of this negative feedback is substantive. Like it almost never pertains to any of my arguments. Rather, it almost entirely consists of insults, defamation, and ad hominem attacks, which frankly is why it's difficult to take this feedback seriously and why it doesn't really bother me. To me, there is no more obvious confession that someone has lost an argument than resorting to ad hominems.
And that's another fallacy people do. Like sometimes you just no longer respect the person in your word. Because I called her stupid. I didn't lose the argument. We weren't even having an argument. But I mean, if I was having an argument with her, I would have felt like I won. She was just too stupid to actually respect. So I think a lot of times we make things like truisms that aren't necessarily true. Like, oh, haters are a sign that you're doing everything right. No. You might just be hateable. Like you might have a hateful face. So I think people try to make anything a sign that you're on the right track. and not everything is. I don't know what that's called, but there's something because people do that all the time. They do it in church. Oh, you must be doing good. The devil's attacking you. That's a sign that you're doing good. Or, there's always a sign. We always assign signs and stuff that aren't necessarily signs. It's just stuff happens. People are people.
This is because if my attackers could prove me wrong, I have to assume that they would at least try to do so.
Ooh, as Anna did try to do so. And for the most part, to me, she failed. But the issue with people, if you look at her audience, they're all like, because audiences are curated by people that already are inclined towards you, they accepted everything she said. They accepted everything she said. And that's sad. I'm like, man, y'all just accept everything. Nobody's going to counter it. Yeah, stuff happens all the time. And not all of it because you got haters or because you're doing things right, because you're doing things wrong. Sometimes stuff just happens. And people will do you dirty. Not because you deserved it or because you did anything wrong. No, just because they wanted dirt done. Everything's not connected to a greater purpose. Some stuff is just random.
That would be a much greater victory for them. So I just hear those attacks as declarations of surrender. Responding to them at face value would be tantamount to kicking someone when they're down.
Now, based on this philosophy, if he still holds this philosophy, he probably would never respond to Dr. Anna, which is why I'm introducing it as a response.
That said, they do constitute a fascinating phenomenon. So what's really going on here? What you have to understand is that most people aren't very self-aware.
At all. Come on, shout out to Dr. Anna, who had no self-awareness. She was contradicting herself within a 3-sentence span. That was bad. She was doing the very thing that she was accusing him of doing half the time. Oh, my God. No self-awareness.
And a lot of what I talk about actually takes place beneath the threshold of awareness. Mm-hmm. For instance, it's absolutely true that relationships are the medium through which value is transacted, and that people tend to enter into relationships where they most stand to gain or stand least to lose. Absolutely. The issue is that the perception of value and gain and loss is actually dependent on a very complex, covert calculus of which most people are almost entirely unaware. Yep. And this calculus consists of an uncountable number of micro-evaluations that accumulate into a judgment of attractiveness. These evaluations occur in the context of your memory and past relationships, and in the context of your goals and future plans, and in the context of your own self-evaluation and self-image. Mm-hmm. They predict whether another person can give you what you want, and if they can, whether they will be willing to give it to you. They evaluate global personality traits like character and more circumscribed attributes like loyalty or sexiness or sense of humor that are weighted given their relative importance and relevance to the evaluator. And they also estimate the costs the evaluator expects to incur in the procurement and maintenance of the relationship, both in terms of the actual expenditure of resources and in terms of foregone reproductive opportunities. And all of this occurs beneath the threshold of awareness in large part. Very few people are going to consciously think to themselves, I've decided to enter into a relationship with this person because I believe it will be a net gain for me in that the benefits I expect to receive will significantly exceed the costs associated with acquiring them. Like, that sounds cold, calculating, and inhuman. But if we were to pop the hood and examine the components of a person's decision, this is what we would find. Mm-hmm. It sounds psychotic to verbalize, but it accurately reflects what's going on beneath the surface.
Okay. And it'll come out like, I like this person. Or I like the way they make me feel. That's what it will come out as. But it's a sum total of a lot of different factors. Personality and lifestyle and all this other stuff.
So what happens in the vast majority of cases is that the final calculation gets transmuted into a feeling. For instance, when this covert calculus predicts that the value of a certain relationship is going to significantly exceed its costs, people don't think to themselves, this is a beneficial transaction for me. They think, I'm pretty excited about this person. She's great. I think she might be a keeper. On the other hand, When the calculus predicts that the value of a relationship is not going to significantly exceed its costs, people don't think to themselves, this is a wash and therefore a loss to me as it is preventing me from entering into more personally beneficial transactions. They think, she's a really nice girl, but I feel like something is missing. Or I'm just not sure. I guess I could make it work. And of course, when the calculus predicts that the costs of a relationship will significantly exceed its value, people don't think the benefits I receive in this transaction do not justify its expense. They think, not if you were the last man on earth. Or I think of us more as friends. Mm-hmm. What happens is that this value calculation gets transmuted into an emotion which motivates people to either approach and invest or withdraw and avoid. Yep. People are aware of this emotion, but not what aroused the emotion. Most of the time, that isn't an issue. However, if you want to understand how people actually make decisions, you have to hack into this deeper process. Now, before I go any further, if you're liking what you're hearing, please consider sending this episode to someone who might benefit from its message, because it's word of mouth referrals like this that really help to make the channel grow. You can also hit the thanks button and tip me in proportion to the value you feel you've received from this episode. I rely on your support to make all this happen. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I will also soon be starting a weekly newsletter, so if you want to opt in, you can do so on my website. Finally, if you're thinking of going to grad school, you need to check out my top-rated GRE study program at stellargre.com.
That's fantastic.
Okay, let's get back to it.
Now,
I guarantee that people enter into relationships with their perceived best options. Like, it wouldn't make sense to argue that people would forgo a better opportunity for a worse one. Our genetic line would likely have stopped ages ago if that were the case. So if people enter into relationships with their perceived best options, then the perception of value is at the heart of why people enter into relationships. It's also sufficient to explain a great deal of behavior, especially a great deal of the bad behavior in the sexual marketplace. Everything from divorce and monkey branching to ghosting and infidelity. Now, the folks who are critical of the economic model of relationships, they still make decisions every day about who they spend their time with and with whom they enter into relationships.
Every day.
And these decisions are predicated on the perception of value. But here's the thing. Many of the things that people value are not socially acceptable or politically correct. For instance, there are plenty of men who married the hottest woman they could get. That's it. That was the primary criterion. And there are many women who married because they were afraid that they'd end up alone if they didn't. Like, they didn't really like the guy or certainly not love him. They just were afraid. And that's what motivated them to enter into that relationship. So people hide these reasons almost always from other people, but very often from themselves. A lot of people haven't done the work to integrate the socially unacceptable parts of themselves, especially given our current topic of discussion, their superficiality and their selfishness. They would like to believe that these parts don't exist inside of them, which just isn't true.
Right.
However, in the absence of integration, they can really only deny and disavow these aspects of their personality. This makes it likely that they won't come into emotional contact with these distressing parts of themselves, but it doesn't actually neutralize the negativity, which is really only possible through integration. Instead, this disavowed negativity gets projected onto other people who are abstracted and dehumanized to facilitate the projection. Hence the ad hominems and the...
Yeah, we become monsters and demons and misogynists and evil and toxic because we actually admit that we want certain things that are superficial to selfish. And it's just, it is what it is. Yeah, she's selling a 4-hour connection course for $200 off of the BNL. Yeah, buy now, pay laters? Oh, wow. She's so transactional. It's crazy.
Insults. The tragic misunderstanding occurs when people attempt to eradicate their own projected negativity or evil by destroying the person on whom the negativity or evil was projected. Such people attempt to purge their own darkness by cleansing the world of anything that reminds them of the disavowed portions of themselves. Of course, this never, ever works,
Ever.
which is why this ignorance is directly responsible for a great deal of the unnecessary pain and suffering that exists in this world. And here's one final thought. We can use the economic model to predict what demographic of people is most likely to take issue with the economic model.
Oh.
Think about it. If relationships ultimately are transactional,
Okay.
who do you think would be most opposed to this knowledge becoming more widely known? Cui bono? Those who typically benefit less from a mystified transaction, or those who typically benefit more? Without a doubt, it would be those who benefit more who would take issue.
Yeah, because they don't want anybody else to know how they get such great deals. They, you know, she went to Emory like, Bree, no wonder she's evil. Exactly. Emory must be an evil factor. It's like Hogwarts, but the evil version. Yeah.
And who typically benefits more from a relationship according to the economic model? Women.
Now, see, women will argue with that. I got to hear his justification because women will say men, excuse me, men benefit more. And I've seen some stats that say there are more domains that men benefit from the relationship. So I'm curious to what he says here.
Whereas women mate and date for gain, men must resign themselves to mate and date for acceptable loss. However, not all women benefit from relationships equally. What subsection of women typically benefits the most according to the economic model?
Most attractive.
Older women.
Oh, older women.
Older women are very, very expensive.
Yeah.
For instance, a 50-year-old woman no longer has any direct reproductive value, and she likely has finished raising any children she did have. She will also have become significantly less attractive as a sexual partner as she ages. Many of the goods for which men transacted their commitment will have ended by this time. However, men are still expected to provide provisioning and resources and exclusive commitment to these women for the rest of their lives. You might argue that this is due recompense for what these women did in the past, but those men probably did a lot in the past too.
Okay.
The upshot.
What I would say, what he's using as a metric for the value was different than what I was expecting. So in a relationship, like the things like the domestic labor and relational care, men benefit more from that stuff. Men benefit more from that stuff. But that's not what he's talking about. He's solely talking about the attractive quotient. What makes a person attractive sexually? Like to want to be with them. And he's saying when women get older, a lot of those things fall off. The beauty phase, they can't produce children. Like the things you would chase after somebody for, a lot of those are lost when a woman gets older. So men's cost is higher because they're paying for a lot of the things that they can't attain. And that's where the relational aspect comes in, because then the things that you gain from intimacy and relational care, like there's an inverse relationship, like all the beauty and potential of like legacy and all that stuff, like having the womb and the beauty, as that fades, as that declines and becomes less accessible, the intimacy and relational care should be going up, like inverse proportion. So that's how it should be. But he's not taking that into account. So when Dr. Anna talked about narratives, that's one that, to me, it's not fair to leave that aspect out of it. Yes, you're paying a premium for things that you're not getting, but what you are getting is, in my opinion, far more valuable and able to be sustained over a longer period of time. So, but that's my opinion.
Is that men are expected to pay the same price for a depreciating reproductive opportunity, which to
reframe it, you could say that men get away with paying the exact same price for two different services and goods. Well, listen, I came beautiful and I'm able to produce children. I've lost that, and you're still paying me the exact same price for long-term care and relational. Like, get out of here. Yesterday's price is not today's price. Like, you want to pay me like beauty? I was born with beauty or whatever. I barely had to do anything for that. You pay me this for that. You owe me more for the relational care that I'm giving you. You owe me more knowing that you'll be taken care of into your old age, like that. Like Social Security is getting ready to become insolvent by 2032, but I'm going to take care of you into your old age until you reach your deathbed. That's far more valuable. Like, get out of here. You owe me more. So I mean, it could be framed differently. That's all I'm saying.
Functionally renders that opportunity increasingly expensive as a function of time.
And of course, shout out to LeVar Ball and shout out to Tina, formerly Ball. That may not be the argument anymore. You may not be able to count on them to take care of you to your old age because you lose your foot to diabetes. You're out of here, buddy.
So we can predict that the most aggressive opposition to the economic model of relationships will come from older women, precisely because older women stand to lose the most if this idea were more widely known. And if you observe who responds most obstreperously to my ideas online, you will find that this is exactly what happens. What do you think? Does this fit with your own experience?
That's quite possible. It is the aunties. I know they talk about the aunties. It's the aunties and the uncles that be on the internet complaining the most. The me's and the other people that's my age, the women, it's us to be on the online complaining the most. But I think we hear a lot more from the younger people because they take our ideas and regurgitate them. Like through what do you call that? Indoctrination. There's a lot of internet indoctrination. So a lot of the Redpill older dudes, the Kevin Samuels, everybody that followed that lineage, the Fresh and Fits, they're all around 40. They're all around 40. Andrew Tate's, all around 40. Even on the good side, like the Dr. T.S. Johnsons and stuff like that, they're all 40 to 50. And that stuff gets regurgitated by the young people because the young people on the internet soaking it in. So I don't know. I disagree with them in part. But overall, though, about how people come to disagree, I agree with him. Definitely agree with him there. I like that he presents multiple angles sincerely, not one angle with a sprinkle of drama. Yeah, he's really good and he's really thorough. And it's really shameful. And I said really way too many times. I said really, really a lot. Really, really, really. But Dr. Anna took something that was his personal opinion for himself from his real life and made that ideological, which was unfair. I was like saying, hey, I like strawberry ice cream. But Rashawn said that men like strawberry ice cream, and I don't think it's fair to generalize it. All men like strawberry ice cream. That's very dismissive to all the people that like vanilla because more than that's not cool to do that. Don't take my personal opinion and preference and generalize it and make it a gender standard. Like, that's not cool. So that's where she made the most mistake. But she also had a lot of liberal feminist leanings, a lot of patriarchy, a lot of hierarchies. She had a lot of feelings associated with that because there were things that he said that had nothing to do with patriarchy or hierarchies at all. But she interjected it. She put it in there. She injected it. So that was tough. But thank you, Naya. Thank you. I thought it was interesting that these two people were, having a quarrel. It's rare that you see two doctors have a disagreement. So one disagreeing with another was pretty interesting. And I wanted to see. But more so to the people that might watch this, to the people that might listen this long into the live. What's more important for you is that these are both psychologists. These are both practitioners. These are both people who will take your money to help diagnose your problems and help you work through them. They are at odds about some very simple concepts, even about relationships. So my greater takeaway for anybody that might listen to this would be that even in therapy, you need to do your homework to find out more about the person that you're allowing to help shape your thoughts and feelings. Because they come in with biases. They come in with a worldview that may shape their advice to you. It may or may not. They may be able to professionally separate themselves. But if they're unaware, like Dr. Anna seemed unaware of a lot of her biases, they'll help steer you towards things that may not even be true to you. So it's important to even consider that when you're looking at therapy or a therapist, that somebody's worldview, because again, I walked away from a therapist who was too centered on blackness because I wanted my help to be personal to Rashawn, not to black male in 2024, I think at the time it was. So you have to consider who you're talking to, what their worldview is, because it will shape the advice that they give you. I couldn't trust Dr. Anna because some of my feelings might get tilted through her man, unsaved, dangerous. I couldn't trust her with my thoughts and my feelings. I might be able to trust Dr. Orion, but I also know that he's cynical. So I'd have to shape my relationship with my therapist, if it was Dr. O, around his cynicism, around his pessimism. I'll say pessimism. Might be a more accessible word. I'm being a dick. Anna's PhD program is a known degree meal and questionably accredited. Okay. It's crazy the range of opinions on fundamentals, even among, yeah, exactly. So I think that's the most important thing about this. I think the doctor versus doctor was kind of cute, and it's cute for the internet going back and forth. I love it. But what's more important was that, am I having a light shine on me? Okay, anyway. But what's more important is that we understand that the thought process of the person, because they're still a person. See, we go to the therapist as an object. You're here to fix me, but they're also a subject. Like, to the point of this whole thing, the objectification, they're also a subject. They're a person with their own biases and experiences that shape the way they're going to help shape you. So you need to vet these people, because not everybody can be trusted with your thoughts and your feelings. Stop mogging us. I don't even know what mogging means. I've seen you use that before, and I don't even know what it means. I don't even know what mogging means. That's so sad. I'm too old, man. Internet slang means to outclass, dominate, or outshine another person. Is that true? While originally rooted in physical appearance, looking far more attractive, muscular, or taller. I can't help that. I can't help but to look more tall, more attractive, more muscular than the rest of you people. I can't. I mean, it's me. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, I could turn my camera off. I mean, that's the best I could do. Like, have you seen me? Specimen? Jesus Christ. What do you want me to do, y'all? So listen, I'll stay off camera from here on out because I don't want people to feel intimidated by my handsome, debonair, looks maxed, weight maxed. I'm a weight maxer. Is that a category? Is that a category? No, but can I be a weight maxer? Big back maxer? Big baxer? I don't know. But yeah, man, so I appreciate y'all hanging with your boy. Been about 3 hours. We'll go ahead and close this down, man. So be careful which doctor you let influence you. Debonair, looks max, weight maxer. No one is intimidated. I don't know. I don't know. I think Nova said I was mogging, which means he was intimidated. If nothing else, he thought I was just a more robust specimen of a man. I was too manly. I was too masculine. I exude sexiness. And it's okay. Just soak in the vapors. Come on. Soak in the vapors. Smell them? You smell them? Yeah. Sexy. It's true. Sorry, y'all. We ready to get out of here. Let me quit playing. We're going to get out of here, man. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Watch out. I had some notes, but I'm not going to read through them. But Dr. Anna said a lot of stuff is wrong. She contradicted herself a lot. It's kind of sad. And if Dr. Orion does rebut, if he does retort, which I hope he does, I'll bring it, because I thought it was so interesting. But I don't need to go through all these notes. I have so many notes, man. I was tearing her arguments apart. But I will say, though, I think as a therapist or as a psychologist, people like her are unethical and unprofessional. Not just because they're on the internet spouting. The certainty with which she made claims about another person on the internet, about his stance, about his personal belief system. To me, as a psychologist, you have a greater standard. You have a greater burden of proof. And she didn't cross the threshold of proving anything. As far as claiming him to be a misogynist and to believe in all these hierarchies and all this other stuff, I feel like people should be held responsible for stuff like that. If you're going to make certain claims, you should have to prove it. Again, I know I can't do it myself, but I need enough of us to start holding people to account. and stop supporting people just because we like them. It feels like we've crossed the threshold where if you're liked, you can get away with almost anything. When Trump said he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue, I thought it was crazy. But I think he really could pull out a gun and shoot somebody. And because people like him, it'll get overlooked. And it's not even just Trump. I think it's like that with so many people right now. The buy now, pay later plan is enough to know, yeah, that sucks. That sucks. And based upon what I just saw, her level of analysis, I couldn't trust her to pay her for it. I couldn't trust her analysis. Her analytical prowess, for me, is beneath mine. And my analytical prowess is uneducated. I didn't get a doctorate or a master's or a bachelor's or an associate. But she couldn't make certain connections that I can. And so I'm gonna consider myself a layperson. And if you can't out-analyze me as a professional, as somebody who has a doctoral, I couldn't pay you. I couldn't possibly. It'll be embarrassing. That'd be embarrassing. That'd be like me going to a mechanic to pay them to fix my brakes, but they couldn't even tell me where the brakes were on the car. Like, you don't even know where the brakes are. I mean, you might be ASE certified, but somehow you don't know where the brakes are. And I'm gonna let you fix my brakes? Nope. I'll fix it myself. IQ maxing. Always. But all right, y'all, man. I will let y'all get out of here. Hope y'all have a rest of your Saturday. Monday, maybe on stream Monday. Yella, I think Yella has a day off. Man, for some reason, I feel like that LeVar Ball thing is going to blow up. Pause. It feels palsy. It shouldn't be palsy, but it feels palsy. I don't know why. Something about balls blowing up just made me feel like it was a pause moment. I feel like that LeVar Ball thing, if we get more information about why his wife left, man, I feel like that might be, I feel like that's a big thing. I don't even know why. His wife leaving feels like it's a big thing. But you take care of somebody after a stroke and then they leave you when you get your foot amputated. Boy, that feels tough. Manosphere gonna be eating that one, eating alive. Oh, that's what it was. The joy. I may do the joy conversation. Joy is an act of resistance. For y'all, just in case y'all interested, there was an NPR talk where they talked about joy as an act of resistance and resistance in context to white supremacy, which I thought was crazy. It's silly. It's along that like I'm the ancestors' wildest dreams or whatever. I hate that. But imagine like you going on vacation or you drinking Starbucks or you having a fancy purse being revolutionary. Like that concept annoys me. So that's what we're going to probably talk about with Yella on Monday if he's still off on Monday. And then I'm going to bring in a little bit of Jennifer Lewis because she had a thing about joy. And actually the LeVar Ball piece was about joy because she said she wanted to do something different. And somebody else cited it as she was looking, they didn't use the word joy, but there's a lot of things about people chasing joy. And I feel like they talked about that in the talk. Some of the things that people value are selfish and superficial. And part of the reason people stay in relationships are for objective things. Everything's not about the person. If nobody would get divorced if it was about subjectivity. This is the person you chose to marry. So why would you ever leave them? Because they're still the same subject. People leave for objective things. Sorry to ask at the end, but what is the LeVar Ball thing? LeVar Ball. So you know about the Ball brothers. The father, LeVar Ball, he's been married 30 years to Tina Ball, his wife. But she is divorcing him, or she has divorced him. She had a stroke some years ago. And he nursed her back to health. He took care of her. But then recently, he lost his leg to diabetes. First, they took a couple of toes, but then they amputated his leg close to up to the knee. And then after that happened, she said she wanted to do something different and asked for a divorce. So they got a divorce. So people are responding to it. Now, we don't know that this is the case. The series of events, as men are absorbing this, is you were with a woman 30 years, raised 3, let's say high quality sons, because 2 are in the NBA. You take care of a woman after she has a stroke. You didn't leave, you didn't cheat. He was rehabbing her. He was taking on the role of rehab. Like he was working with her through the rehab. Very visible. very loving, very he's very passionate and vocal and loud, but he's also very positive and affirming. And I played some clips. He talked about, man, this is me and you, and I'm gonna be with you forever, blah blah blah. So he was very in it. But then when he lost his foot to diabetes, or part of his leg, she wanted to do something different. So men are taking that as soon as he's down, she left. Even though he took care of her, she refused to take care of him. That's how men are taking it. That may not be the case, but that's how men are distorting. Oh, the light is coming off of this and hitting my face. Oh, that's what I'll keep seeing over there. Okay. Yeah, it is messed up. But now I will say, he already has a girlfriend. So it's already a little sus. It's a little sus. He already got a girlfriend. So he always had good energy from what I saw. Extremely ambitious. Yeah. But he's already got a girlfriend, however recent it was. So he waited. He wasted no time. So the question, from the women, of course, they're like, he must have already had her. That's probably why she left, because he was cheap. So the manosphere and the one manosphere, they're already making up their narratives. But I'd like to know more. It looks bad, but I'd like to know more. I would love to know more. So that might be popping off more if we get more information. Because I guess he talked to Neon. I'm sure Nova, you know who Neon is, the streamer. He was talking to Neon about it. But he's like, they had a good run, 30 years. He was like, she had a stroke. I took care of her. She was like, you're always gonna be beautiful to me till you say you want to go do something else. Now you ain't beautiful to me. I was like, the dude is crazy. But I like him. I like LeVar. So yeah, so maybe we'll have more information by Monday. But if nothing else, the Jennifer Lewis and the NPR piece, I'll talk to Yella about that, because he hates when people chase joy. Shout out to Tia Mallory. We might even bring her back into it, because she's been chasing joy. Yeah, left her marriage to chase joy. But I was gonna say that the doctors kind of touched on that. They touched on something, and I know I just said it about the people are leaving the subject for the object. Like that's important. What Dr. Orion said in that last video, that people, they have that hidden subconscious thing that they're chasing, and if people can be honest about it, like the subject isn't enough. Like love isn't enough. You may care deeply about this person, but that's not enough to keep it. And we have to be able to admit that. So trying to make it the subject has to be the reason. No, that Dr. Anna, she married her husband, and she didn't know him when she met him. They had to get to the place where she was willing to marry him. It started with attraction. It was something very objective. Yeah, I hate when people try to act like there's no objectivity in dating. You don't get to the subject without going through the object. So, yeah, I'm going to end this stream 3 hours. I wasn't trying to stall, but we crossed a 3-hour mark. I'm going to head out, y'all. I hope y'all have a good day, and I'll talk to y'all later.
I'm going to take it, and then I'm going to give that shit right back in droves, relentlessly, tenaciously, perpetually, non-stop.